Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, and we're going to call this meeting of the board to order. Could we have a roll call, please? Deborah?
Certainly. Hildreth?
Here.
Bentley?
Here.
Selden?
Here.
Byram?
Here.
Hamachi?
Here.
Spence?
Here.
Ruvalo?
Here.
Warren?
Here.
Yang? Roy Yang? Yes.
Here.
Here? Okay. Matheson?
Here.
Okay.
Members are entitled to speak during the designated open forum portion of this meeting, whether attending in person or via Zoom. Each speaker is limited to 2 minutes. If speaking on behalf of another member, additional instructions provided on the forum slips must be followed. All speakers must clearly state their full name and Rossmore address before beginning their comments. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast and recorded. By attending and participating in this meeting, including during the open forum, each attendee agrees to and releases the Rossmore Walnut Creek from all liability for their voice and/or likeness being recorded and broadcast for any lawful purpose without compensation. Thank you.
Before we get started today, we've had some concerning incidents recently here that the board wanted to address, and I'm going to ask Janet Selden to share a statement with you all.
Yes, thank you. I am a member of the Lesbian Social Club and the Alliance, and I attended events where these incidents took place. I never imagined that in a community like Rossmore that I would have to hear or witness acts of vandalism, intimidation, and harassment directed at members of our own community. I appreciate the board for publicly recognizing these incidents and affirming the values that Rossmore stands for. My hope is that today's statement marks not only acknowledgement of what happened, but also a commitment to ensuring that every resident is protected, respected, and included. And I would like to read the board statement now. The Rossmore Walnut Creek Board of Directors would like to remind everyone that Rossmore is a community built on mutual respect, dignity, and inclusion, where everyone deserves to be treated with civility and tolerance. In the past few months, the board has been made aware of several troubling incidents. A club's display was vandalized, a resident's tire was slashed at an event, and 2 residents dancing were subjected to an obscene gesture and insult. These behaviors are inconsistent with the values of our community and have no place in Rossmore. Every resident and guest should feel safe, welcome, and able to participate fully in community life without fear of vandalism, harassment, intimidation, or incivility. Staff and vendors should be treated professionally. Together, we can foster a community where every resident is treated with respect and where our differences are valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. I wanted to just mention before we get started that Council Member Francois is away, so won't be giving us his report today. I did want to mention, and I think it was covered in the Rossmore News, that there will be a ballot measure on our November ballot regarding proposed senior community development near BART. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that from him and in the news. So let's look at the approval of minutes of our regular meeting of June 25th, 2026. Are there any changes or revisions? No? Okay, we'll accept them as presented. Thank you. And then we'll move to our financial status report. And I thought I saw Todd. Oh, there, Todd, way back there. Okay, come on down, Todd.
Good morning, board. Good morning, everyone. So halfway through the year, it's hard to believe. So let's take a look at our performance through June. couple of opening comments, just as you all know on the board and everyone here, we're going to be all hands on deck this next month on the budget, right? So obviously the numbers you're seeing today are going to be really deeply analyzed as we build our forecast, as we prepare for the budget meetings in the first part of September. So I don't want to just keep repeating myself, but the similar trends we saw throughout this year are continuing. Some are very favorable. A couple of them are we need to start looking at a little bit. On the RPM side, as you guys all know, we work to a break-even budget. So obviously the budget every month is, from a year-to-date standpoint, is going to be zero. We are currently at a loss. That loss is 100% pretty much contained within the billable services for the operating fund side. So all the mutuals that come and have our internal staff do work that goes into what we consider their operating fund, which would be their more maintenance stuff versus reserve major rehabs that have a life over a year. That revenue is behind track, right? So we're going to be doing a really good deep dive on that here with John T. and his team as we prepare the budgets. That is one of those numbers we have a hard time controlling due to the mutuals are free to go use third-party vendors for that revenue as well versus just our internal team. However, we do still have expenses to support the contractors and all the workers that do that work in our sales order side. So we're going to look at that. We did actually pick up some of the reserve work from last month. However, the total loss is still around that $310,000 mark. So we slid a little bit more on the operating side, but we did have if you looked at last month on the reserve side, I think we had an $80,000 loss, and that's kind of turned the corner. So there is obviously seasonality in here, as we've talked about, where more work has been done in the summer. So hopefully we'll see some more work here in, closing July, and August and September is always a big month. So we'll keep an eye on that, and obviously we'll have a very strong forecast on what we think that number will be as we get into the budget season. If you look on the expense side, I think that's some pretty good budgeting. We're only $14,000 off on the expense side. So we'll obviously continue to watch that. We're going to look at all the expenses we do the budget. Obviously, a lot of that is all labor, right? So it's a combination of any open positions, all delayed hirings. So there's a lot of pieces to it, but the great news is I would love to be able to say I can just do a budget every year that's only $14,000 variance through June. So I don't see any real big red flags here other than that operating side on the revenue on our own internal work. And we're going to, obviously do more work to look at the causation of that and how we may see what the timing is in the next quarter to right that ship. So, and then of course, we'll get to the other statements. And I'll go ahead and get through it this report now that we included last couple months, we're also pushing this report out this week to the mutuals that actually show what we've spent to the annual budget and the remaining budget, right? So this now document becomes a very important tool in terms of how we start looking at expenditures that are remaining to budget for the forecast and building the budget for 2027. So that's obviously in your packet now. On the other financials, same as last month, we provide all the detail on the regular income statement by month. So where the ones prior to this are kind of collapsed at a summary level unless there's a big variance, you, the board, have the detail for every chart of account on the income statement. And then we move into the balance sheet. Really, the balance sheet handles, it also has intercompanies, but I would say that, nothing here that's all normal. So any questions really on the RPM side? And like I said, this next month is really going to be the
Don't see any
dive
questions.
into it. All right. Yeah, number 2. So now we'll move over to Rossmore Walnut Creek. Okay, so if you remember from prior months, we kind of, as a finance committee, decided to highlight and expand those areas that had a variance over $100,000 or more than 10% variance. So continuing from the last month's trend, we do have landscape maintenance. This is a favorable variance, but it still fits into that threshold. However, we did start getting some of those expenses coming through in the summer. Once again, we'll look exactly on these accounts as we build our forecast and where those timings are. You know, once again, some of the budget, as we continue to improve it and take some of that seasonality out, we'll put those expenses in where they normally should occur. So we'll do a deep dive on those as we're building the budget. Obviously, it's a favorable variance and we're underspending. We want to make sure that, you know, if they're coming, some large expenses come in the fourth quarter, that we capture those obviously in our forecast and our budget. The new one that I've expanded this month for you to highlight, IT expense. The IT expense side historically has been budgeted into computer program maintenance, and that has kind of been a big catch-all for the stuff that's the expenses in IT. And outside the actual hardware and computer, like actually buying laptops, the computer program maintenance bucket is where we do have all of our new nets with the subscription cloud-based services, right? And so I think we've talked a little bit, and certainly within the finance committee and my conversations obviously with Adrian, you know, this is an area where we're gonna budget this a little differently next year. So you'll see this as we get into 2027. We know exactly where every one of these dollars is spent. We have a side tracker to this. There's a couple things we need to go through to make sure that we have capitalized all the implementation charges, and there's some of them more expensed. That bucket of dollars was not seasonalized, so we pay subscriptions to some of the vendors like NetSuite and Oracle on a quarterly basis, so we just had a big payment in June, so that changes some of that expense. But we're gonna obviously come back with a really large, you know, obviously detailed when we get into the budget hearings, you know, explaining exactly, and we're gonna split that and add some GL accounts to basically cover subscription fees for like NetSuite and Workday versus actual other infrastructure, right? So you'll see that coming. I'm not really worried because I know exactly where the dollars are and what we've spent on it, and there is some timing in there. So we'll take a look at that obviously through August and we get to the budget. So the board has a lot of comfort in terms of exactly where every dime is. We've had, obviously everyone knows we've had gone through this huge process of solutioning NetSuite, and it's not just NetSuite, it's also looking at bringing on Vermont Systems at the end of the year and into next year. So we'll come back to that with a really good analysis for you guys and a deep dive, okay? And then on the really good news, obviously we all know that we're seeing favorable surpluses on insurance. So that is continuing to carry through. And so if you look at the bottom line, we're still running a very healthy surplus right now in RWC. So, so that's all favorable news. Obviously, if you look at the insurance, you know, a large part of that surplus is insurance, but it's real, and we're carrying that through the financials this year. So, any questions on the budget action on RWC? Leanne?
In the Finance Committee meeting, you talked about a variance with golf. Was that through trust or RWC? I just wondered if that was a one-off.
I don't remember talking about golf.
It was a higher expense in golf than you anticipated. We could talk offline.
Yeah. No. I mean, we had some initial issues with golf just in how we book the revenue for the golf cards or the you know, prepayment on the golf itself.
Okay, maybe I must have misunderstood. I'm sorry.
I'm happy to come back on that, though. Golf is very healthy, though.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
On
Janet.
utilities, it looks like we already spent all our money on utilities. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
Where you,
100%?
Yeah, but we're
1%.
break even, so that is if you were to look at the next slide, Janet, if you look at where we are in utilities to total budget, so we're at camera can't read off the angle, 3.6, we have a budget of 7.2. So that previous slide showed that we were trying to break even every month on utilities. Obviously, billing and payment of utilities have sometimes a little bit of variation. PG&E does some weird 15th billings and stuff like that in a month, but utilities are tracking just where they should be.
Does that include water, or is that just?
All of it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Todd.
Okay. And then, of course, once again, the details on the income statement for the board to review. And certainly, if there's any direct questions, when you guys look at these individual line items, my team is certainly happy to respond to email. We have Amanda now with Melinda on the controller side of the mutuals. Her and Kat can get back pretty quickly, especially Kat on queries to anything you have on the detail. And then on the balance sheet, we did talk about at the Finance Committee for just some better visibility, to go ahead and expand some of these other categories, like down here on, go ahead for the board and expand some of those other current assets, accrued payroll. And then I think at some point we talked to the Finance Committee too, the RWC, we need to have probably we were talking about some of the deep dives, but kind of go into reading the balance sheet and understanding the intercompanies between ourselves, RPM, the trust, and the mutuals. But if you look at May, it's just, everything is, ties out, it's trending just where it should be. And then if you go to the very back, obviously, which is why we have the cash flow, which is so important now. Obviously, the cash flow connects the balance sheet and the income statement, so you can see the actual use of cash. So, okay. Any questions?
Any other questions? Do you want to go on to the other reports
Yeah, go ahead.
briefly?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the trust capital fund, or we look at the trust. I talked last month a couple things, and also for everyone here to understand is when a membership transfer fee comes into, we sell a property and that comes in, it comes in as a capital contribution, so it doesn't show up as income, right? And so if you were to look down in the equity, when we get to the balance sheet, those dollars are flowing into there. And so we can, what we're going to do is, for next month, that's part of the Finance Committee discussion. I'll expand that equity section where you can see the increase for the year. And we can talk about the, obviously the MTFs here. What you will know, though, is if you were to compare this to last year, right, we do have maintenance coming through. So we did make the decision last year to put the maintenance expenses that the trust is obviously responsible for, protecting those assets, just like the reserve fund on a mutual. So you will see those trust maintenance expenses come through. So you will see on the income statement, if you were to compare to last year, you're going to see a lower income or a loss because we don't book those MTFs as income, right? It's more of just an expense line item. So that's all normal. It's nothing to, cause concern at all. But if you were to read this document, just understand that those maintenance expenses are now coming through here, and they weren't if you were to look at last year. Okay? And then if you were to look at the balance sheet, and you were looking down at that equity line, the large equity line, all the MTFs are flowing through there, and obviously June was a favorable month for us, and we took that big increase, but we're actually higher in dollars. We're slightly off on total numbers, but we're actually up on dollars. So So that's good. And the other thing we talked about too is this year we showed up with that on the very bottom of that contract liabilities. We've talked about this, but that is the money that on the sale of the medical building that has come through that's non-refundable. It still sits there on the balance sheet till the sale is either closed or it would be terminated. And so if they were to, that for some reason fell through, that money would then revert to our income, right? But right now it's an open contract, so it sits on the liability. So that is our dollars, but they sit on the balance sheet as a contracted liability because we have obligations for that sale. Okay? And then it's always nice to see the bank debt go down every month. So, all right.
Questions?
Yeah.
So this is our first year using NetSuite the whole way through. So can you just give us a summary of how that affects the budget process in September?
Yeah, it's actually, I'm pretty excited about it. One of the greatest tools is because it's a single incident database, right, and everything's in there. So when we look at like our budgeting software with Workday, Leanne, all that data is pulled in every night, right? So for Jason on my team, being able to take like the June actuals and then start forecasting it out, we have just so many more tools now because it's so easy. You know, if anyone's had an opportunity when I met with some treasurers, is literally sit at my desk now in my position and be able to have access within a drop-down menu to any one of the numbers in our valley, from mutuals to trust. I can drill down on all of these. It gives us a really good opportunity to not just, you know, obviously last year was even like I'd say the first step into kind of a forecasting culture, changing we look through June historically and we kind of doubled it, you know, and actually going line by line. You know, those budget to annual reports, you can go off to the senior leadership team. They can look at their individual department and what's left super easily, super quickly. It's just so much more efficient, takes human error. GenArc was so cumbersome in terms of actually ever getting to data. It happened just less on a few people's shoulders. So that's a huge change. And it also, because it's all a single incident, just being able to find areas that are mistakes, that are miscodings and things like that, or how the budget, you know, in the budgeting process, one of the challenges is always making sure that where we budget the dollars is where the expense is hitting, right? And that they're lined up. And so, you know, Amanda put together, you know, really in the NetSuite implementation process, you know, this new chart of accounts that you see is just so much more clean. And we've done a lot of work mapping that history into this. So I think there's obviously work to do, but look, IT is a perfect example, right? It's an example of where we can expand, give more detail, and be better at what we do, right? And it's also just so much more, it's much more efficient, it's much quicker, you know, like last year, sitting here going into August, having a month, 5 weeks to create the budgets, kind of a panic. I'm actually fairly calm for the most part. You won't see me much in August, but it's just a really good place to be. This system is so powerful, and you know, obviously there's frustration, and we wish we could be further than we are. We're still solutioning certain aspects of it, but it's a game changer for us as a community. So, yeah.
I love when you're talking about that, you're smiling.
I am. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Todd, did you want to review the consolidated financials or
We can. I mean,
or we don't have to, whatever you think?
Yeah, I don't think we have to. I mean, there's nothing there that would really show up. I mean, we do that because it is a single entity, and it's good to look on a consolidated basis because it takes out some of the intercompany eliminations, which gets in kind of the accounting weeds a little bit. I think it's a powerful document for you guys to look at, and we can certainly go through it, but it's, you know, on the income side, you'll see the RPM loss plus the RPM RWC gain plus the maintenance expense, you know, the equity. I think also if you look at the trending from month to month, you know, we're healthy. You don't see a huge drop in our assets or our balance sheet, right? It's, you know, but it's a good document to look at because that actually is who we are. even though we talk about RPM, it's just a division, right? So it's good to look at, but I don't think we need to go to it in detail unless you guys want to.
Okay, any further questions? Ted, did you have a question? Okay, thank you, Todd.
You bet.
Okay, now we'll move on to the general manager's report. Jeff?
Okay, great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. So the topic of class fees is on your agenda, and we are, as Todd just talked about, entering the budget season. So I thought this would be a good time to try and address some of the specifics about our governance, about the budget process, and how really our operation is funded through a combination of the monthly assessments, which is the coupon, and user fees for specific programs. But before we kind of dive into that concept, it is important to really understand the way that Rossmore is governed. A common misconception is that Rossmore really operates as one single entity. I pay my monthly coupon and it covers kind of everything, not really focusing in that Rossmore is made up of RWC, which is an independent corporation from each mutual, and the 23 independent mutuals, which are each their own governed corporation. So the mutual boards, these are 23 volunteer boards that oversee the housing properties and common areas associated with their specific mutual. Each board approves its own independent budget, which drives the mutual portion of the monthly coupon, which currently ranges by mutual from a low of $885 to a high of just over $1,900. The RWC Board of Directors, the volunteer board, oversees the amenities, programs, and services available to all members across the valley. It sets policy, decides on capital projects, and approves the annual operating budget for RWC only. The RWC portion of the monthly coupon is currently $351.51, which includes Comcast cable and broadband services. So looking at how RWC's budget really is formulated, it is a combination of the shared cost model and those assessments that are collected through the monthly coupon for the $351.51, as well as user fees on a number of things, and then some investment income. But it is important to note that all of RWC's expenses are covered through these mechanisms. RWC is not a profit organization. We run as a nonprofit mutual benefit organization for the benefit of the mutuals and their members. So a shared cost model. RWC is founded on a shared cost philosophy. Every manor is assessed the exact same amount for RWC services, regardless of how much the individual residents in that manor use those services. So as an example, the 2026 portion of the coupon supporting the fitness center, which we'll talk about later, is $13.15 per manor per month. That fee applies whether anybody in that manor actually ever steps foot in the fitness center. So the only way we can keep that at $13 is because every manor pays that amount. Minimum user fees for exclusive benefits. So because everyone shares in the baseline operating costs, the board approves minimal user fees for specific programs that offer exclusive benefit for some members, but not all. So some examples include exclusive space. So two examples. If you rent an RV space up at RPM, nobody else has access to that exclusive space, so there is a fee to cover costs. If a resident reserves a room, nobody else has access then to that room during the time it's being reserved, so there's a fee that applies. There are services such as personal training, golf lessons, or specialty classes, again, which you'll be talking about, where the participants have exclusive access to that staff member, that instructor, while they're taking the course. Or there's limited capacity, for example, tickets to a concert. We only sell so many tickets, and those members that choose to go buy the ticket to cover the benefit of the entertainment. So we charge fees in order that not everybody has to cover the cost of a benefit that is only being enjoyed by a few. So a little bit closer look at that concept. The fitness center budget is a good illustration. So currently, the operating budget funds essential staffing, including some part-time on-call fitness instructors to teach fitness classes. To offset total costs, the fitness center generates approximately $340,000 in revenue from personal training, class fees, guest passes, and space leases. This $340,000 in fee revenue allows the RWC board to keep the fitness center coupon impact at $13.15 per month. Without the user fees, the monthly coupon for every single manor would increase an additional $4.25 per manor per month. So everybody, regardless of whether they use the fitness center or not, would underwrite the personal training, the lease of space, the specialty classes. So it's a balancing act between user fees and everybody's access to the amenity. So whether you use the amenity or not, you have open access under the shared cost model. So looking ahead, as you debate this overall budget in the coming months, we have some key dates where residents can give input to the balance. You hear a lot as board members from individual interest groups that say, we want more of a specific amenity, we want more of a specific service, or you hear from various user groups that we don't want to have to pay individual rental fees or service fees for the benefit. You always have to balance, is the fee going or cost going to be covered by all or just a specific group that's receiving the benefit? That's a hard balancing act for the board. So if the community is interested in being a part of that discussion, that ongoing debate on how to fund these programs and services, on July 30th, the board will be considering the initial recommendations of the Aquatic and Fitness Committee regarding specialty class fees. That's today. August 27th, the board will be discussing all of the user fees and program fees that are charged. And then on September 8th and 9th, the board and finance committee together will be reviewing the proposed 2027 RWC operating budget. And then on the 24th of September is when the board will be considering final adoption. Once that budget is adopted and those fees are set, that is set for the entirety of the 2027 year. So we can't come back and say, well, we need to collect more because we want to expand. Once the assessments are set, that is the way it is for all of 27. So we encourage resident participation. Come and discuss those matters under the member forum and listen to the debate. Also, more will be published in the Rossmore News and on rossmore.com or my Rossmore for the draft budget. If there's any questions?
Any questions for Jeff? Thanks, Jeff. That was very appropriate for our discussions today. So now we We'll move on to our member forum. Janet, would you let us know who's signed up
Yes,
today?
we have 11 people speaking today. I'm going to read them in order. Charlene Liu, followed by Marcia McLean, thank you. Is Charlene here?
Is that on?
Your mic on?
Good morning. My name is Charlene Liu. I live at 1657 Skycrest Drive, Manor 15, Mutual 4. I'm here to present a petition regarding to the Fitness and Aquatic Advisory Committee's July 9th recommendation. To demonstrate how deeply our community feels about this issue, this petition has already been signed by 75 fitness center users. We only started collecting signatures yesterday at noon. I will continue to collect signatures and email them to the board. The petition, this is what it looks like, 75 signatures. To the Board of Directors of RWC, we, the undersigned residents of the Rossmore, write to formally state our strong disagreement with the recommendation submitted to the RWC Board by the Fitness and Aquatic Advisory Committee on July 9th, 2026. The committee's recommendation advises implementing a $3 fee per session for Zumba and other ongoing classes taught by part-time employees starting January 1st, 2027. This fee directly targets part-time instructors who are certified in specialized programs, including Zumba and deep water aerobics. We believe this recommendation does not speak for the Rossmore residents. Our focus is strictly on preserving our established community programs. We feel strongly that all existing, ongoing, free group fitness classes must remain entirely free. Therefore, we request that the RWC Board reject any proposed fees on our long-standing, ongoing classes and ensure they remain free of add-on costs for residents. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Marcia McLean. I'm at 2709 Golden Rain Road, number 13. And I'm really here today to speak about the member forum. So many times people come and they ask questions or there's something happened. Is there a process that the board then answers those questions so that we can, or can it be published in the paper or something like that so we have a general idea of what that is? That's my question. Thank you.
Carrie, and then Elisa Kramer.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Carrie Regenstein. My husband and I live at 2607 Sackland Indian Drive, number 1, entry 2, immediately across Rossmore Parkway from the Creekside Pickleball Courts. Please adopt the Planning Committee's option 2 for the use of that space. That is, remove the pickleball courts and create an attractive open space. This is a very popular area for Rossmore's many walkers. A well-designed sitting area with drought-tolerant plants would benefit the entire community. This use would also honor the expectations of the entire community when the board supported the expenditure of $4.5 million on new pickleball facilities that serve a fraction of the community. We moved here just 8 months ago, bringing an 1898 Steinway grand piano with us. We very specifically selected a manner where my music would not be intrusive to neighbors and that external noise would not interrupt the music, spending more than we planned because we relied on all the comments we heard that the nearby pickleball courts would be retired when the new facility opened. We live with constant noise, the sound of the paddles hitting the balls and the sound of raised voices every hour of every day, not just during tournaments. At this time of year, Sustainable Rossmore encourages us to open windows early and late in the day to save on energy use during the greatest hours of heat. We opened the windows at 8 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday, and the pickleball noise was only louder. I am the pianist for the Rossmore String Orchestra and would never intrude on neighbors by playing the piano that early. A multifaceted study already showed that, among other things, there is erosion by the creek bed. Any further study should focus on option 2, that is, the property's best long-term use for the entire community, not option 3 and the potential use of the site for pickleball. The entire Rossmore community has enthusiastically supported the pickleball offering. It is time for reciprocation. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Alyssa is Hal.
I'm Elisa Kramer, 1524 Golden Rain Road, Apartment 3, and will argue for levying the proposed $3 fee on January 1, 2027 for new fitness center classes only. The issue at hand is defining a specialty class to justify the $3 fee, which has been waived for deep water aerobics. Defining a specialty class generates confusion and inconsistency. Are they classes taught only by part-time on-call instructors for Zumba, deep water aerobics, and yoga? Do they all require certification? Are they all offered with the same frequency? Certification is required for some PTOC classes as well as for UJAM, a free class taught by a staff instructor. Classes taught by PTOC instructors and staff vary between 1 and 3 times a week. The number of participants varies due to space at the bar in the aerobic studio, on mats in the Serenity Room for yoga, and in the pool for deep water aerobics. In addition to the confusion, levying a fee on Zumba would impose an unfair disadvantage to participants who take classes 3 times a week and has been a part of the curriculum since November 2021, the oldest PTOC class that is taught at Rossmore. Instead of grappling with inconsistencies to define a specialty class, I urge the board to levy a fee beginning on January 1, 2027 for new classes only. It would be a clear policy and avoid resentment among Rossmore residents toward a waived class that fits similar criteria. Thank you.
My name is Harold Cushins, and I reside at 5325 Terra Granada Drive, number 1A, and I'm the president of the Rossmore Pickleball Club. We are very excited to soon be playing on the new dollar courts and thank the RWC management and board for their support in this journey. My purpose today is to first voice our support for the proposed RWC rules for the new dollar and Creekside courts. These were developed with our input, and we greatly appreciate the cooperative process we had with Ann Matola and her staff. I would also like to provide you some food for thought as you consider the fate of the present Creekside courts. We understand that before the RWC board can make an informed decision about the future of the Creekside courts, additional data is needed, especially sound and geotechnical studies. If the results of these studies indicate there's a way that the courts can remain as pickleball courts, we believe that such an option would have a number of benefits for all the Rossmore community. First, let me assure you that the Rossmore Pickleball Club has no intention of scheduling any formal club activities on these courts should they remain open. We believe that they should remain open for use by all Rossmore residents. If they were to remain open, it would provide a number of advantages. One is that preserving the Creekside courts will give Rossmore the opportunity to have adequate pickleball facilities in the future for the number of residents who play continues to grow. From 2022 to 2025, the number of pickleball players 55 plus nationally grew 171%, with an estimated 8 million seniors now playing. This increased popularity is reflected in our own club's growth in membership, with an increase from some 400 members in 2023 to over 650 today. Given that in the future even more Rossmore residents will be pickleball players, it would be prudent for RWC to not abandon these 3 courts, especially since it took nearly 5 years of study to finally decide on where the present court should be. Thank you.
Cynthia Davis, and then Barry Bryan.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Davis. I live at 1724 Oakmont Drive, number 2. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to offer several additional reasons why I believe it is worthwhile to study the feasibility of keeping the Creekside pickleball courts open as a Rossmore facility and not a club facility. pickleball community anticipates an increase in pickleball participation once the dollar courts open as the newest and finest pickleball facility in the area and will likely attract more play, including Rossmore residents inviting friends to join them during open play hours, which the Creekside courts could provide. If kept open, they could provide a valuable benefit to our community by creating additional opportunities for family recreation. Pickleball has become one of the fastest-growing multi-generational sports in the country. Residents often ask for more places where they can enjoy activities with their children and grandchildren. The fitness center is restricted to 16 and older, and pool availability for families is limited. Keeping the Creekside courts open would give residents another welcoming space where families can play together 7 days a week. And the pickleball sport itself currently occupies approximately 70 hours each week in the fitness center. While that schedule will remain in place for the remainder of this year, demand for the fitness center continues to grow as other activities increase in popularity. It is reasonable to expect that pickleball court time in the fitness center may eventually be reduced. If that happens, keeping the Creekside courts available would help offset the loss of those playing opportunities with open play throughout the day. In closing, Rossmore Pickleball Club respectfully asks the RWC Board to approve further study of the feasibility of keeping the Creekside courts open. Preserving these courts would provide space for practice, supporting family rec.
Thank you. That is
And
time.
thank you.
After Barry is Craig.
Barry Bryan, 3874 Terra Granada Drive, 3C. This is something entirely different than what people have been talking about. CEO Tim O'Keefe's 2022 retirement announcement, July 18th, 2022, followed by Jeff's contract signing as Tim's replacement on December 12th, 2022, suggests that about 5 months are needed to manage a leadership transition at Rossmore. Decisions of this scale benefit from early, thoughtful consideration. The question of whether to renew our general manager's contract is one of the most significant responsibilities before the board. I encourage you to ensure that your deliberations include ample opportunity for open and candid discussion among board members, along with meaningful input from residents. A well-informed process will strengthen confidence in whatever decision is ultimately made. Given the time required for executive transitions, I hope your upcoming executive sessions will allow for thorough and independent of staff discussion of this matter. Providing a window over the next several weeks for residents to share their experiences and perspectives could also be valuable in informing your deliberations. Thank you for your consideration.
After Craig is Nancy Munson.
Good morning. My name is Craig Haglund. I live at 2611 Sackland Indian Drive, number 2. I came to comment on the pickleball options. I live across from the pickleball courts, and they are definitely make loud noises, from the sound of the pop, pop, pop as the ball hits the rackets, to the sometimes screams that follow after a good shot or maybe a bad shot. I heard a comment, well, we don't get any complaints on daily use. Well, who are you going to call every couple minutes? Who's going to come, and what are they going to do? Now, I thought $4.5 million for pickleball courts was quite a bit, but if it makes it quieter, offers more courts, and closes the noisy Creekside courts, it's worth it. Now, in the original plans to convert some of the Buckeye tennis courts into pickleball courts, which would have been a much cheaper option, but the tennis players said, no, that's much too noisy for them. Yet, it's not too noisy for the neighbors across the street to hear them all day long until it gets dark. Now, there's a proposal to pay $25,000 to determine if pickleball is noisy and if the ground is unstable next to the creek. Well, we already know the answer to that. And if they find a consultant that says, oh, there's no problem, Then there's a proposal to fix them for another 100,000. I mean, 4.5 million is enough for pickleball, no more. And I think most residents would agree with this. Option 2 converts the courts to open space, a rest space that can be enjoyed by all residents and benefits the most people. Thank you.
Thank you. After Nancy is Pat Shanahan.
Hello, my name is Nancy Munson. I live at 3223 Rossmore Parkway, Unit 2. One of the joys of my role as chairperson of Pickleball for Parkinson's, or P4P, is I get to stand before you and tell you how incredible the community of Rossmore is. Rossmore residents in the business community of Lafayette and Walnut Creek continue to share their passion and support for Parkinson's research by donating to our P4P fundraiser supporting the Michael J. Fox Foundation. It is my pleasure to inform you that this year's P4P fundraiser on June 1st raised $159,000, 35% over last year's record volume of $117,000. Over the past 4 years, we've donated $415,000 to the Michael J. Fox Foundation to support their goal of finding a cure for Parkinson's. I want to thank the Rossmore residents, donors, along with their family and friends, the impressive list of 34 sponsors, the Rossmore Pickleball Club players and volunteers, and the 5 Rossmore clubs who supported us. For the last 2 years, we've promoted at our fundraiser the spirit of joy. This year, we had a very generous resident help us promote this spirit. His name is Pierre Boyer. Pierre made us 300 wooden hearts with joy engraved on one side. These were made available to all who attended our fundraiser as a special token to remember the importance of joy and helping others. I have some here for each one of you. P4P thanks you all, and we will continue to do our work in support of finding a cure for Parkinson's. Thank you.
Thank you. And after Pat is Jess.
I'm Pat Shanahan. I live at 703 Terra, California, and I'm a 19-year resident of Rossmore. First, I really would like to thank the board for all their work on behalf of the residents. It's volunteered. There's no bonuses, no pays, no benefits that are concrete other than your satisfaction and contribution. I truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I come to you this morning to ask you to pause on authorizing a sound study for the pickleball courts. As an alternative, I suggest it sent back to the Planning Committee for some additional consideration. Number 1, ensure that the Rossmore Board of Directors is provided an update of what the plans for the Creekside courts were at the time that the pickleball complex was approved. My personal recollection and understanding was that there would no longer be use of the courts on Creekside. Rather than they would be, all play would be at the new support, in a new center. And I was an advocate of the pickleball courts because I do think we need to attract new members and move forward. Number 2, provide a forum for all stakeholders, especially Mutual 40 residents who live in close proximity to the courts, and have an opportunity for them to share their perspective, experience, and comments. There was no discussion at the impact on Mutual 40 residents in the June Planning Committee meeting, and I think this is something that would be very important for building relations between the community and the board and planning committees. The voice of stakeholders needs to be heard. Number 3, have the planning committee look at the financial resources that have been contributed to pickleball and also the financial resources that are needed for other clubs.
Thank you. That is time.
One last thing. I think an open space would allow people with disabilities a place to go and enjoy the outdoors, because the current spaces do not support handicapped or limited mobility. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jess Clark, and I was drafted to be here today. I'm the chair of the Ban Toxic Pesticides Committee of Sustainable Rossmore. I'm here to thank the Planning Committee for their support of the recommendation to have a study to consider whether or not Rossmore can be Audubon certified. On Tuesday, we had a meeting where there was over 60 people at the Dollar Clubhouse, and I want to thank particularly Janet Selden for being there. It was quite an honor to have an RWC member who's the chair of the Planning Committee with us. The members that were there were absolutely supportive of your resolution and your efforts to bring Audubon certification to Rossmore. So I wanted to thank you for that support. One of the major issues, though, that was discussed at the meeting was the fact that these landscaping contracts that are either traditional, mixed, or organic are up for renewal for a 5-year bid. We believe this is a particularly important time for this community to consider organic landscaping. I know that the mutuals are very different as far as their governing body from the RWC, but as leaders in this community, we hope that you will be supportive of an effort to have organic landscaping. May the grace and peace of all understanding be with us. Let us be more welcoming and inclusive, be productive today and always. Thank you.
Okay, that is the end of member forum.
So we do have one speaker over Zoom. Handle name Dan Cohen. I am unmuting you. Go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Good morning. I'm Dan Cohen. I live at 2613 Sakhalin Indian Drive, which is approximately 100 feet from the Creekside pickleball courts. My comments relate to the two relevant agenda items today, the proposed study to inform the future of the Creekside site and the proposed operating rules. While I'm speaking today, my comments reflect the views of at least 84 Rossmore residents from Sakhalin Indian Entry 2, Mutual 40, and several other mutuals who have signed our letter to the board, with pickleball players and club members among the signatories. We recognize that the board is not making a final decision on the future of the site today. However, we respectfully ask that the study include a thorough evaluation of option 2, which we strongly support, and that it include meaningful consultation with the community, particularly those residents who will be most directly affected by the outcome. Creekside is unique within Rossmore. Unlike any other recreational facility, it is located immediately adjacent to homes, with several residences less than 100 feet away. We encourage the board to view this not simply as a recreational issue, but as a long-term land use decision that will shape the character of this neighborhood for decades to come. Finally, I would like to address one statement in the background materials. They suggest that noise concerns at Creekside are primarily associated with special events and tournaments. This has not been our experience. For many years, nearby residents have been exposed to repetitive and disruptive noise during routine daily play throughout daylight operating hours. That distinction is important because the impacts we experience are not occasional. They are part of everyday operation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. That concludes the member forum.
Okay, thanks all the residents that were here, and we'd encourage you to stay and hear the rest of our discussion, but thanks for giving us your input. And now we'll move on to resident member committee reports, starting with our Aquatics and Fitness Advisory Committee. I know Cynthia's here, so welcome, Cynthia Davis.
Thank you. I am the chair of the advisory committee for AFAC. We met on July 9th. We elected a vice chair, Carol Lair, and a secretary, Molly Klops. Andrew Cleary shared his report on Camp Rossmore, scheduled for August 17 to 21st. Recreation and fitness teams will be collaborating on this week-long program. He also provided updates on staffing, programming, facility operations, and usage trends. We had a long discussion on fitness fees and what defines a specialty class. We had many questions that needed answering and formed a subcommittee to help determine and define specialty. A motion was made and seconded to recommend the RWC board implement a $3 per class fee for all specialty classes effective January 1, 2027, except for any water aerobics programs that will remain free of charge, and the Parkinson's group training will remain at its current fee of $90 for 16 sessions, which breaks down to $5.60 per session. Ms. Matola provided an update on pool maintenance, lifeguard staffing, and current pool operations. She presented 3 options for pool operations. Number 1, temporarily close Tice Pool during part of the day to provide lifeguards at the Hillside Pool. Number 2, reduce pool operating hours to better utilize available lifeguards. Number 3, continue with the current operating model with Hillside and Dollar pools remaining open without lifeguards while maintaining all required safety equipment and signage. A motion was made and seconded to recommend the RWC board to continue with option number 3, the current model with outdoor pools unguarded, and to review as needed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, are there any questions of Cynthia?
I have one.
Oh, go ahead, Janet.
So I can't remember, I was at the meeting, but there's been a lot of talk here about who is teaching a specialty class. And was there consideration for the fact that going forward, the fees should be based on the class itself, the specialty class, not who's teaching it? Because that is subject to all kinds of changes. It could be a full-time, could be a part-time, could be a drop-in. It could be many things. And so, to me, for consistency's sake, it would make more sense to just base it on the class, not who's teaching the class.
Well, that's a very good question. And I believe the subcommittee will come up with some more answers around that, as well as what is the definition, a true definition they're going to stick with for specialty. You can also be referred to Kelsey or to Jeff with any further questions about that.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian. And should we, but before, I don't mean to not have you ask your question. Would it be better to have staff report on this as opposed to asking Cynthia?
I'm not sure.
Go ahead, ask your question and we'll see. But I'm going to refer to staff if I think they're
Okay.
More appropriate to answer.
Yeah.
Not that Cynthia isn't an expert.
I haven't been deeply engaged in understanding these concerns. So do we have a clear definition of specialty classes at this point, do you think?
No, the committee has asked for the subcommittee, along with help from Ann, to define that for us, so we know what we're working with moving forward, so it'll become more clear for everyone involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, we're really in a bit of a gray zone.
Correct. Right. But we'll come out of the fog eventually.
Well, I know we have a recommendation on this, so I'm assuming that Jeff or other staff would talk a little bit about that and also clarify, particularly for the audience, that we don't see ourselves taking a specific action on this item today.
That is correct. So you do have a recommendation from the Aquatic and Fitness Advisory Committee, and I just want to thank the committee. This is one of those topics, along with the lifeguard coverage, that is very challenging, and really the reason why we have those committees to represent the community and debate these significant topics. There is, to answer your question, Adrian, there is a subcommittee that is meeting with Ann and will report back to the full committee in regards to a specific definition for what would fall under a specialty class and thus trigger the fee. So there is consistency on when it would apply and when it would not. That is still to be formulated. There is some information in the presentation that I'm going to go through that kind of gives you an idea of what we classify as specialty. As the President mentioned, we are not requesting that you take action today to actually approve the fee. During your August meeting, we'll be discussing overall fees for all of our programs and services, and think in the context of the budget and the overall fee schedule, it would be more appropriate to consider that action at that time, and then hopefully there will be also more clarity on what the definition of a specialty class would be. This whole discussion falls back on kind of what I opened with in terms of the shared cost model versus fees for specific benefit. The one thing that is constant is that the fitness center operates on a nonprofit basis, and RWC operates on a nonprofit basis. So the cost of these programs, these classes, either come from the coupon paid by everyone or by the individuals that are enjoying the benefit of the class. There is no in-between ground, so it either comes from one of those two sources. So a little bit of the presentation that Ann had prepared with the subcommittee on the proposal, the discussion. They came to the $3 per class fee based on the fact that if you look at all of the specialty classes that they are currently considering, the average attendance is about 20. So we figure you can get about 20 on average. So some may have more, some may have less, but if you have an overall average of 20, that would generate $60 per class, again, on average. The cost to offer one of these classes, if you're just looking at the cost of the instructor itself, is about $60 per class session. So that $3 in theory covers the cost of the specific instructor that is hired for that class purpose. The committee did talk about some exceptions to the fee under specialty, and that is to exclude water aerobics classes. And that's basically based on the limitation of the pool because you do need lifeguard coverage during those classes, and there's limited space and capacity for those. This is something that should be up for further discussion. Parkinson's group training, this is a program that has been in existence for quite some time with a fee that is associated with it at $90 for 16 sessions. This is one of the few classes where you sign up for a full course of the 16 sessions, and it does require 2 fitness instructors. Therefore, there's a little greater expense associated with that. And this is just kind of grandfathering in a long-standing program that has had a fee. The summary and recommendations, equitable application of the fee for specialty classes. So we definitely want that definition of what is considered a specialty class. Therefore, the fee would apply to all of those. The fee exception for all water aerobics programs due to limited offerings in the environment. Parkinson's group training remains the same due to the 2 instructors. and figuring on 21 to 22 person average enrollment provides cost recovery for the cost of the instructor. The recommendation that came from the Aquatic and Fitness Committee is to implement a $3 per class fee for all specialty classes except for any water aerobics program that will remain free of charge, and Parkinson's group training that will remain at its current fee of $90 for 16 sessions. This also doesn't cover anything to do with personal training or the Pilates training that currently is fee-based. So why do we need these fees? What is the purpose? If you look at the approved budget, it does include currently a 0.55 full-time equivalent for part-time instructors. And what this is if we have a class where we don't have a instructor with a specific certification, we can go out and hire somebody that is just going to teach that specific class. So there is interest in bar right now. The instructor that taught that class retired. There is still high demand for bar. Bar requires a specific certification to teach that class. So our way to continue to provide that would be to go out and recruit just an instructor to teach that specific class. They don't do anything else at the fitness center. They're only in to teach that class. So we do have some funding programmed in the budget to be able to recruit those classes. But we also, as I mentioned, have the revenue side of $340,000 that is made up of mostly personal training revenue, but also rental of the facility. Also, when we have outside contractors that come in and teach a class, we charge them a rental fee, and then they collect the fee for the class. An example of that is Kathy Steen is a longtime instructor. She pays us a $10 an hour rental fee. She conducts the class and collects a per-person participant fee for what she teaches. So without this revenue, then the cost falls back on all of the residents, whether they use the facility or not. So there is your debate. Should the cost come from all residents, regardless of use, or the residents that are enjoying the specific use of the amenity? So this will continue to be discussed at the Aquatic and Fitness Advisory Committee, and then we will bring it back to you during the full fee discussion, but I'm happy to answer any specific questions at this time.
Okay, any questions? I see Nan, and then another.
How many classes are free as opposed to ones that you're going to be paying for?
So the number of free classes varies over time. It is based somewhat on the current staffing levels, the availability of the staff to teach the classes, but there has been a concerted effort to increase the number of free classes. Around the 2020 to 2023 timeframe, we were averaging about 30, 31, 35 free classes a week. Today, we are offering approximately 55 free classes. Those classes can vary based on the expertise of the staff, based on their ability to teach consecutive classes, because it is wearing, and space availability. So we don't guarantee that a free class is going to be kind of ongoing. They're more general in nature. And those are open to the community more on a drop-in basis as opposed to a ongoing registration basis. Hope that answered your question.
There was a question over here. Adrian?
Yeah, so I have some questions about the mechanics of this. The fees, are they charged per class or you're buying 10 classes?
Adam, can you pop on up here to help me answer that one? I do believe we have a structure where there is a per class, but also options to buy multiple class, but let me get Adam to clarify that for me. So the mechanism for being able to pay for and collect fees for classes.
Yeah, so there's both options. So registrants can purchase a one-off class, just say, come in, I want to take this one class one time, and they pay the fee. Or if they know that they're going to regularly attend the class, they can purchase a 10-pack. And it's the same cost as it would be as purchasing 10. So if we went forward with the $3 fee per class, it would be $30 for a 10-pack, or they could buy one-offs and say, I want to buy 5 of the 1-packs, and it would be 5 times the cost.
And how do we charge them for that? I mean, how do they pay? There's a transaction cost.
Yes, there's
associated with any transaction. So if it's, $3, we're paying, it's probably costing us $1 just to collect the money.
Yes, so they pay typically via credit card or debit card, via card swipe.
Okay. And what happens if we bring in a part-time instructor for a particular class and supposedly 10 people are going to be there and only 2 show up? We're still paying that instructor, is that correct?
Yes, so the mechanism right now is they have to prepay for the class. So if somebody wanted to sign up for a class next week, to register for the class at all, they have to pay the fee to get their name on the list. So regardless of if they show up or not, the money has been paid already.
Okay, but what happens if only 5 people register for the class next week? Do we still hire the person and are we taking the money out of
the person
the
is
overall?
already hired, so we don't just hire them by the week. So we have, before we offer the class, we have the person already hired. And certainly there are additional costs. There's the cost for recruitment and hiring, the cost for collecting fees, the percent paid on credit card, the front desk staff, the other staff to manage. A lot of that is baked into kind of the overall operation of the fitness center that is part of our shared cost. The specific class is what we're talking about, trying to cover that nominal operating cost.
Right, but what I'm pointing out here or getting at is that RWC is covering the cost of that instructor, and hopefully we'll be reimbursed for that, but it's not guaranteed.
It is not guaranteed, and that is why we look at kind of the averages for this class. So Deepwater Aerobics may have 12 people or 15 people, and then your bar class may have 16, 18, and Zumba may have 25. On average, the total revenue that we collect is sufficient to cover the cost. Is it per dollar spent? Not always, but we try and break even.
Okay, Leanne, please go ahead.
Are any of the free classes duplicates, more or less, of the specialty classes? Like, is there a Zumba-like class that's free? Anything like that?
Currently, no. Typically with these specialty classes, they require special certifications, so there's some special training associated with the classes, such as like Zumba requires a license, so you can't offer a Zumba class without the Zumba license, which is, again, that specialty certification that we've talked about. Typically named classes of large things like that, right? Yoga, Pilates, Zumba, anything named like that, big name, typically requires the excess certification, so you can't really offer a secondary light class that would be free.
So Zumba is one that does have a club instructor, so there is a club that teaches Zumba, and they collect the fee independent of RWC. And then RWC offers a Zumba class that meets. And currently there is not a fee for that, but that is one of the classes that would meet the definition of specialty.
Ted, go ahead.
So a long time ago, not that long ago, but a while ago, I wanted to improve my golf game, and I thought yoga would be something that I would do. They had an outside instructor that I paid directly for the class. The class was $8.50 a class, twice a week, that she gave the class. Have we thought, so another concept could be here is to take this, all these specialty classes, possibly, off of the board, let those people be independent contractors and collect the money themselves for their own class, and they just pay a rental fee for the use of the room, like this class that I took. Is that something that could be
is
done?
our history that you're describing. And prior to the pandemic, we had probably anywhere from 5 to 8, and it fluctuated, where we called them independent contractors. There was, and there still is one that I mentioned that is part of that. After the pandemic, they all went away. And that model has pretty well changed within the industry. So it is very hard for us to consistently offer a class that is in demand, where we are counting on the ability to recruit an independent contractor that carries their own insurance, is certified, and has the ability to recruit and offer the class. It is much easier for consistency to have it under our control. That way we know the instructor is certified, is meeting all of the requirements, has a consistent schedule. We collect the fee through the front desk or other mechanisms, and it is more consistent. We can do both still, but in order to maintain those classes, the best model is to bring on a part-time independent or a part-time instructor.
Okay, and then another question, $45 to $60 an hour for the cost of an instructor. It's not just, they're not basing that pay on just the time in the class. Are they, I mean, do we have to say, okay, there's like, they got to get there early, they got to get the class set up, they got to break down the class? I don't know. That's what I meant to break it down afterwards. Is there travel time involved? So is this, we really have to, in order to make it feasible to attract people to come here, we're going to pay you 2 hours for a 1 hour class kind of a thing. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know.
There is some prep, setup, breakdown time. Is this a dollar for dollar, as we mentioned with Adrian's question? No, but we pay them on an actual clock in, clock out time, not a class specific time. So there may be 15 minutes that they arrive before or set up or after. So it's not a 1 hour specific breakdown. But they are here just for the purpose of that class.
Leanne, you had a question, and then I have a comment.
Yeah, mine's a comment. When we do make a decision, or we're faced with making a formal decision on recommendations for next year, it would be very helpful to have more detail regarding the operating budget for this subject. Many of us feel like we're kind of in the dark on this. First it was $5, then it's $3, and we're just like, well, how does that work? I mean, how come all of a sudden $3 is okay? So we need to see the money, when we do discuss that, please.
Yeah, that is really one of the driving factors of why I think this should come in context of the budget and the overall fees that are applicable to the fitness center.
Well, just in response, Leanne, I had the same question about the $3 and the $5 difference. And in looking at this in terms of your estimate that most of the classes have 20 people, and at the $3 fee, that's $60, which kind of covers the cost of the person. So I have a bit more comfort with the $3 fee, but I'm not, don't count on me for anything. I shouldn't say that, don't count on me for anything. It's just something I've been thinking about. But I'd like to support Janet's initial question to Cynthia. I think it's critical for us to understand how you're defining a specialty class. And the thing that I want to make sure I understand is we may have a full-time staff member who has a certain certification, and they are already a full-time staff member, but if they have that special certification and they're using that to handle or provide one of these special training classes, I think we should look at the nature of the class and not the instructor. And I understand we're trying to look at the part-time cost and cover that, but I still think in the long run, I want to make sure we're looking at the type of class and not just trying to figure out, well, we have to bring somebody special in to do this. So I hope I'm sure that could be part of the discussion with the subcommittee on the specialty classes.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's highlighted by our experience because there are times when we do have a instructor that can teach a specific quote-unquote specialty, requires a specific certification for that class, and then that individual moves on. But the expectation and the interest doesn't move on. So like I said, bar was a good example of that. We had a full-time instructor that had that certification, taught that for quite some time, and then they moved on. But there is still very significant interest in that class. In order to fill that gap, we would hire a part-time on-call instructor. Does that mean that you charge the fee only when you have the part-time instructor brought on, or is it a consistent fee because it is quote-unquote the specialty class? It should apply to the class, not the individual.
Go ahead, Sarah.
I'm just wondering if you anticipate having more specialty classes, because I think one of the problems that's arisen is that people have been taking these classes for free, and now you want to charge. It would be much easier to initiate a class with a fee as a new class.
That is a big part of the challenge. Is there's been a time when some of these classes have fallen under a fee, some of the time when they've been taught by an outside contractor who collected the fee specifically, and then times when it has been taught by one of our instructors with no fee. So bringing a new fee on for a class that has been free certainly creates a lot of anxiety and causes concern. The number of classes somewhat goes based on trends and interests. We want to be able to remain nimble, and if there is suddenly an interest in a class that we currently don't have, and we know that there would be sustained interest, we want to be able to have the ability to go out and hire somebody to teach that specific class. So we're responsive more to the interests and demands of the community rather than kind of only offering a very select few, and when those go, we don't have a replacement. So it's probably in the 5 to 6 range on an ongoing basis, but we could grow that or reduce that based on a number of factors.
So with 55 classes, I think my biggest issue is I can't get my head around all the different things that we're doing. And I think it's awesome that we're doing all this stuff, but I think that I would like to know more about what is it that I need to know about all 55 and what is that incumbents. Is there any of those that only have 3, 4 people in a class? Is that a class where we should maybe think about, let's drop these classes because it's not, there just isn't enough participation in it? I mean, I think that there's more stuff that we have to talk about in here about the whole class picture. And one of the ones we haven't mentioned in this, and I could be wrong on this, but I think they charge for Pilates. Yes. So we haven't even mentioned what we charge for Pilates or the number that is. And that's for a very small group, which I'm not saying they should get away with it. And I know it's you need someone really certified to know that piece of equipment to be able to teach that. But that is something that we charge for also. And I have no idea what that number is.
Pilates has its own fee schedule, and it is highly specific to the instructor. The classes that we have, the 55, that it's not a static 55, but there are times when there's limited attendance. There's times when it takes a while to build. We do want to be nimble and responsive, so if a class has consistently a small turnout, then we want to pivot to another class. If we have a class that has just, don't have the space to meet the demand, then we want to offer another session. So we want to be constantly, and that's really what Adam and his team is always doing, evaluating where the need is, what the capacity of the staff is to teach those classes. I know I couldn't teach that many classes, so you need to be able to take into all of those different factors, and that's really what the fitness staff does and Adam manages on a daily basis.
So we are going to be continuing to discuss this in August with our fee presentation. So if there are no other comments, we would normally take a break now, but I'd really like to try to consider our lifeguard proposal, and then we will take a break. But just point of personal privilege, there are 2 fitness classes that I like to attend. And I have to get up a week ahead of time. Well, I get up early, but if I'm not on my phone at 7:59 to get into that class, I don't get in there. So a lot of these classes are heavily utilized.
You need 3 devices to get into a class. You need to be ready on 3 different devices, all signed in at the same time, and people game this all the time. They do it. That's how you get in, because at 8:01, you're out.
Yeah, no, that's why I do it at 7:59 on there. Okay, so can we move to the next item, considering the recommendation to the board regarding the continued use of the unguarded outdoor pool operating model for our hillside pool and family swim, recommended again by the advisory committee.
The Aquatic and Fitness Advisory Committee has been busy. So this is a really important topic for the community, especially those that utilize the pools. As you know, the hiring of lifeguards has been a topic that we have been discussing since probably 2010. It is a challenging position to hire for a number of factors. Typically, the average lifeguard is a part-time, usually younger individual. They may be going to school or coming back from college for a summer, and they're looking for part-time work. That is the typical profile of a lifeguard. We certainly have a number of folks that fall into a full-time, this is their career path, and we support them on a full-time basis, and that profile works really well for us. But there's a number of feeder programs that go into recruiting lifeguards, whether those are swim programs or other things. Those programs have been declining kind of on a nationwide basis. Full-time guarding is not really seen as a career path for many, so it is hard to recruit folks on a full-time basis in this arena. Purely the cost of living, as that goes up, competing for folks in the pay range of a lifeguard is difficult. And there is a lot of competition for folks that would qualify in that arena of a lifeguard, whether it is other employment opportunities that may not require certification, may not require the ongoing training. There are other professions too, or there are other agencies that are recruiting in that field of a very few lifeguards. So in response to this, again, this is not a Rossmore issue. This is a nationwide shortage. But locally, many of the public pools, which are mandated to provide lifeguards during their operating hours because they charge a fee and they have programs specific that are open to the public, they have tackled this challenge by actually reducing the number of hours that their pools are available and open. So for example, Concord in 2022 had 84 hours compared to 2658 hours. And you can go down on through the different agencies, and you can see what they've done is shrunk the number of hours so they can better utilize the limited sources and spread those over those hours. We have reduced a limited number of hours, so we've gone from 106 weekly down to 92 hours, which is still a significant number of operating hours that we're trying to cover on a week in and week out basis for the pools. If you think about Hillside and Dollar Pool being open 14 hours a day, and then Tice the same, 12 hours on the weekend. So our revised operating model, Tice Pool would remain guarded at all times. It is open year-round. We do have classes at Tice, and there is a requirement that if you have a class, that there is a lifeguard on deck. This is also the location where we have the spa, and that is an important amenity to continue to guard. At our outdoor pools at Hillside, there would be no lifeguard on duty at any time. This is a significant change. This would include family swim hours. This is where a resident can bring guests that are under the age of 18 to specific family swim hours to enjoy the facility. They have to be accompanied by a resident at all times. And then at Dollar Pool, we have been operating for several years without lifeguards, and that practice would continue during all operating hours. We wouldn't have any lifeguard on duty. In order to legally operate without a lifeguard, you have to meet a number of requirements. One, we are a private community, so that we're not just open to the general public. We can operate without lifeguards based on certain conditions. You have to have all of the appropriate signage, and it is very specific on what it needs to say and how large the lettering has to be and everything like that. We certainly meet those requirements. You also have certain safety equipment, including an AED, a first aid kit. You have to have access to a phone for emergency personnel. We have all of that and have checked all of the boxes very specific to all of the regulations. So these are just a couple images of what we have up at Hillside. So there are some options for the board to consider. One, we can reassign lifeguards from Tice to Dollar during family swim time specific, so that's 11 to 1, pretty much Monday through Friday, and then 11 to 2 on the weekends. What you're doing is taking your limited resource, instead of guarding Tice at all times, you're reassigning those. That impacts what you can offer at Tice in terms of the number of classes and programs and the operating hours. You could reduce the hours at all pools, so instead of being open 14 hours or 12 hours, you reduce that to a 7-hour-a-day schedule for all the pools, and you take your limited resource and you spread it to one shift for all of the pools. Or you can continue with the current model of operating without lifeguards for the outdoor pools on an ongoing basis, and that is the recommendation that is before you from the Aquatic and Fitness Advisory Committee. Is it without risk? Certainly not. We are operating a pool where there is youth, there is folks that could have an incident at any time. There is certainly risk. We have conferred with our Gallagher representatives to make sure that with our liability coverage that we are in compliance with what their understanding of our operation is and their coverage. So if there is an incident, we want to make sure that we are fully covered under our liability program, and we are. So we've checked that box as well. So that is the question before you, is how would you like to continue to operate on an ongoing basis? I will tell you we had a incident this last weekend. Some of you may have received a NIXL notification that Tice had been closed. That was due to a staffing shortage on that particular day. That's not something we anticipate, but it just further illustrates that anything that is to do with staffing under option 1 or 2, where we're shuffling our limited resource, the chances are we would have more and more times when we would have to close the pools due to limited staffing availability. So the one that provides kind of the most ongoing, consistent operation of the outdoor pools is option 3. Happy to answer questions.
Go ahead, Roy. Roy.
I think I'm one of the director probably most observing on this. Every morning, 6 o'clock, I go to fitness center, and the pool is always have a group of older people. I mean, I'm old too. Older people practicing in there for their exercise. However, a few months ago, I wrote to the board about a report of something happened at the fitness center. One person just almost next to me, walking out on the chair, suddenly he was falling down. And I was running to hold him, and then the trainer came and basically right the position, right the things, so he can, he was recovered. Otherwise, he might be just falling and died. So I think option 3 is what I would like to see.
Any other comments?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, we've got Leanne, then Nan, then Nace.
If we go with the option 3, so no lifeguards at Hillside and Dollar. How do we verify that during family swim, there is a Rossmore resident present with their daughter or son and grandchildren? Because that is the rule for any recreational facilities here, that the resident has to be present. And I've heard that that's not always the case. So how would we verify that?
Yeah, great question. For the most part, like many, many things here at Rossmore, is on the honor system. So the posted rules state that any guest needs to be accompanied by a resident. That is our guest use policy, whether you're at the fitness center or you're at the tennis courts or you're at family swim time. It is pretty much on the honor system. Now, if there is an incident that occurs and a resident observes that there's people there that don't have a sponsor, they could call Securitas. There is the phone available there, and Securitas would respond to that incident. But we don't have a monitor. If you have a monitor, then you start taking on more responsibility for what happens in the pool, and the liability starts to grow. So right now, we would, continue to operate on the honor system. Is that a challenge, especially with family swim, where you have youth that may not be under a watchful eye, even if they are there, or are they leaving on time, not arriving early? That is a potential source of conflict for sure.
Nan, go ahead.
So I'm concerned about family swim especially because I know how much 10-year-olds like to run around the pool. And I wonder if you could take the guard from Tice up to family swim and then go back to Tice. That would relieve that concern and also probably the worry that people who don't belong there are not there.
That is option 1. And if you did that option, you would basically close Tice during a period of time, move them up.
You can't have Tice without a lifeguard?
Because of the spa and the classes that are there, you may be able to still keep it open, but you would have to shift when your classes are and so forth. So it would impact scheduling and availability. So there would be factors that would impact the availability of Tice.
And they don't, if I have this right, they need 2.
Yes.
You can't just have 1 lifeguard at Tice.
That's correct.
The rule is you have to have 2. So you can't just pull somebody out of there.
So Nace had a question.
Yes, I was impressed by several factors in this study. One is the reduction in availability to hire lifeguards in our community, in our county. It's happening everywhere. And so the fact that we, like many other communities, are looking for answers to this is important. I was also very impressed that we reached out to our lawyers to find out, is this, do we meet the standard of care in our community if we have no lifeguards with Family Swim, but we have all of the other safeguards, the warnings, the phone, the equipment, and so on, for which we received a positive answer. So I think that is very reassuring as far as I'm concerned. I currently feel that option 3 is perhaps the best option available. I also suggest that we may want to take Ann's report on this that Jeff showed some slides on. Is very good, very detailed. It's very informative, and we may want to include some of that information, if not all of it, in a Rossmore News article to better inform our residents, why we're making this decision, what are the issues involved, and what we've considered, and go from there.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Could I have a motion to accept the recommendation from the Aquatics Committee?
Yeah.
Aquatics and Fitness Committee.
Sure. I make a motion that we approve the recommendation to the board by the Aquatics Committee regarding the continued use of the unguarded outdoor pool operating model for Hillside Pool and Family Swim.
Is there a second?
I second.
Seconds, okay. Could we have a roll call vote, please, Deborah?
Absolutely. Hildreth?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes?
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Amaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, we will now take a 5-minute break, and we will be back by 10, whatever, 52, something like that. Thank you. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order again, and hopefully Nace will join us soon. And we are on to Finance Committee report, Dan Ring.
Good morning. I think it's still morning, right? Long day. We had our meeting on Tuesday. The June financial statements of RWC, RPM, and the consolidated financial statements were reviewed as Todd already presented. The MTFs were discussed. In June 2026, 39 units were sold, which was slightly ahead of 35 units in 2025, generating fees of $684,500. We are now 11 units behind, but $288,000 ahead of 2025. A motion was made and seconded to recommend to the RWC board that there are sufficient funds to execute a contract with Silicon Valley Paving, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $34,000 to be paid from the RWC Capital Fund for the resurfacing of Buckeye Tennis Courts number 7 and 8. The motion passed unanimously. Mr. Tom Cashion, Director of Public Safety, presented the proposed public safety camera system upgrade and provided an overview of the project, including responding to general questions from the committee. The discussion also included the proposed camera installation at the Stanley Dollar Gate. A motion was made and seconded to recommend to the RWC board that there are sufficient funds to authorize the purchase of an Avalon camera storage server for an amount not to exceed $70,286.16 to be paid from the RWC Capital Fund. That motion passed. Thank you.
Any questions for Dan? Even though we've lost a number of our audience members, I do want to recommend, if you are interested in the budget and our finances, please check into the Finance Committee that meets on the fourth Tuesday or the Tuesday before the board meeting, because the members of the Finance Committee have great questions that help you understand what's happening, and Todd's there and gives detailed explanations. It's really a great opportunity if you want to know about the budget. So thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have.
I have a procedural.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
question.
Go ahead, Adrian.
I don't see the authorization for the paving.
Oh.
I think that might be in planning, no?
That was a agenda oversight.
Oh.
Okay.
So we will bring that to you for consideration.
Oh, you're right. Oh, I missed it. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, well, we do have an action here regarding authorizing the camera storage server. So did you want to present on that, Jeff, or anyone else?
So Tom can back me up on this, but this is for increasing the storage capacity of our current server, as well as allowing us to retain footage for up to 30 days, where currently we have about a 5-day window. That is really critical because most incidents don't get reported for several days, and then when we go back to view the footage, we may lose that opportunity. So this is a very standard in the industry to be able to go to 30 days, but also as we bring cameras on in other locations, such as the Dollar site that Dan mentioned, this allows us the additional capacity. The Avigilon system is a proprietary camera system that we use. It is top of the line for the type of camera needed for the gate, where we are capturing everything from license plates to folks that are exiting the community. So the storage server is in line with the camera system that we currently have in place. So the recommendation is to authorize up to $70,286.16. This is a project that was approved in the capital project of the priority list at the beginning of the year.
Any questions or comments on this one? Adrian?
I have objected to this somewhat because of the fact that it's 70 grand for 200 terabytes of storage, which costs about $10,000. The reason I have talked with Eric, our IT person, at some length about this. I understand why we're in the situation we're in. The decision to buy this particular system was made some time ago, before Eric and Todd were here. And so it illustrates why, if you buy a closed system, you're now subject to ransom by the manufacturer of that system. And I used to be the one who sold those systems and manufactured them, so I know how that business model works. Going forward, we need to be very careful about buying open systems, ones that are not locked in this sort of way, because otherwise it can increase our costs considerably, decrease our flexibility. So, having ranted on, I will shut up.
Any other questions or comments? Could we have oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I'd just like to ask Adrian what else we could do.
Apparently, at this point, we're kind of locked into this one. We have already a service agreement in place, et cetera. We'd really have to revisit it entirely. So, I understand where we're at, but it was a decision we made 4 or 5 years ago, I guess, maybe more, that locked us in here. we need to be careful about making those kinds of decisions going forward.
Okay, could I have a motion on this?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to authorize general manager to purchase a Visualon camera storage server from Securitas in the amount not to exceed $70,286.16 to be paid from the RWC capital fund.
Is there a second? I'll second. Leanne seconds. Okay, thank you, Leanne. And could we have a roll call vote, Deborah?
Yes, Hildreth,
Yes?
Bentley,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hamachi,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Ruvalo,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
and Yang.
Would you like to give your golf report? Hold on, it's not quite. Well, why don't you get up to there, Burke, and you can get started as soon as we're ready. Are we okay, Gerald? Okay, go ahead, Burke, thank you. Test it out.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
No, you're not on a mic, no.
You might have to turn it on.
Well, let's give Gerald one more minute there because we want to make sure we connect for the TV.
You should be good, sorry. Hello, 1, 2, 3. Good. Good morning. At this month's GAC meeting, there was a discussion regarding the current placement of the food truck. And based on that discussion amongst the members, I think the consensus was that the current placement represents a safety issue, or as one of the members said, it's an accident waiting to happen. We left the discussion, my understanding is that there is further study being done on that issue. The second issue was that we had a discussion of the walkers on the golf course. You may be aware that there was an issue a month or two back, and this resulted in having a meeting with all of our golf course marshals and with Tom Cashin to discuss ways to handle these incidents when they come up. They came away with kind of a primer of the 3 strategies that can be used when the marshals are confronting somebody who's walking on the golf course. So they can take this with them, and it's basically you ask them to leave first. If they don't, then you tell them that they're subject to, they're violating the rules and so forth, and if there's still an issue, then you'll be calling Securitas, or in the last, you could call it Walnut Creek PD. And there's going to be some changes, I understand, in the badging and possibly more things to make the marshals look a little more official. And the marshals that I've talked to think this is a real favorable step, and they're very happy to have this information. Finally, the membership has had a nice bump in July, and it's now at 749 for the 4 clubs. So, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Burke?
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Burke. Okay, now we'll move on to the compensation, our board committee reports, and the first is the compensation committee. And I know Arnold will be getting ready to come up here and present with us, but at our monthly meeting, Arnold always presents a staff report on new hires, folks who've left, all HR actions. It's very useful and interesting to the committee. We also, just to note that Arnold also looks at the types of employees we are employing here at Rossmore, and we're seeing the baby boomer decline as they're retiring, because for a long time we had lots of baby boomers, but that percentage is shifting, And we also had a good discussion, a very deep discussion, based on the 2027 possible benefit costs, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So Arnold, would you give us your report regarding our recommendation to the board about health benefits or the employee benefits program for 2027 for our non-represented employees?
Certainly. Good morning, board. Good morning, everyone. Yes, so first of all, just want to let you know that RWC provide medical benefits and among other benefits towards our non-represented employees. And this is line item 8A1. We do provide medical benefits, dental, vision, and among other benefits, as I mentioned. And the medical benefits applies only to all full-time employees and part-time employees. Then dental, vision, they do apply only to full-time employees. We did receive confirmation from our broker, Willis Towers Watson, on what the increase would be for our medical benefits. And for 2027, the increase for our medical benefits would be 6.3%. Market, it's averaging right now at 14%, so the numbers are very favorable for us. Last year, in 2026, our medical benefits increased by 4.3. This year is 6.3, so it's 2% more compared to last year. On our dental benefits, last year in 2026, it increased by 7%. This year, it's only 1.3%, which is a decrease as well, which is good. Then the rest and the vision, dental benefits, there are no changes, so there's not going to be increases. It remains the same. We are locked in with them until the end of 2027, and I believe on the other supplemental benefits are until the end of 2028. Another thing that I want to share with the board is that this is a split cost. The employer only pays 80% of the premiums, and the employee is responsible for paying 20%. This is on the medical benefits. For dental, the employer is only responsible for 75% of the cost, and employees are responsible for 25% of the cost. And that's what we're here in order to present to the board the recommendation, the consideration on the increase in the medical benefits.
So are there questions for Arnold about that? Any questions? Okay, could I have a motion to approve this recommendation, which of course will be a factor in as we work on the budget? Go ahead, Nan.
I move that the board approve the increase of non-represented employee benefits programs for 2027 by 6.3% for medical and 1.3% for dental, based on cost projections from the benefit broker.
I'll second.
Okay, Nan moved, Janet second. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Hamaji?
Here? Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Then also, Arnold, we have a second action here regarding the contractual requirements for our represented employees, and also clarifying the salary increase for our represented employees. Could you review that, and we'll see if we have any questions on that?
Yes. So a little bit of background. For the non-represented employees, Rosemont-Walnut Creek has approximately 86 employees who are covered by the collective bargaining agreement. Those are our union laborers. So we do have some terms and conditions in the contract, and that we need to follow. We need to provide medical benefits. We're responsible for paying for their medical benefits, and also they do receive a pension through Golden Rain Foundation, DBA Rosemont-Walnut Creek. So under the current contract, medical benefits for union members can go up to 8% every year. We cannot go higher than that. So it can come at a much lower percentage, but for budgeting purposes, so we need to utilize that number. And that's why the recommendation for the increase in medical benefits, which for the represented employees, is up to 8%. And then you'll see there we're also asking for 2.5% for pension. One of the things to consider is that normally we do budget for a full year for the pension, and it can increase up to 50 cents each year, and that's in the contract as well. I received confirmation from the union stating that there will be no increases towards the pension this year. However, pension runs from, it's not in the fiscal year, so it runs from July 1st through the following year. So let's say for this year it's going to be July 2026 to next July 2027. So we know for sure there will be no increases for the first half of the year. That's why instead of recommending or requesting a 5% for the pension, we're only budgeting for half of the year. And again, it's not 100%, but most likely there will not be increase on the pension for the following year either. But I still have to put a number in there in case there are changes there. Yes.
Okay, go ahead, John.
I'm
Then he has
confused.
another action too. Go ahead.
So if you're saying is 50 cents, 2 point whatever, 2.5?
So the increase on the pension, there is a set number that the employer pays towards the employee's pension, and it's based on hours worked by the employee. Every year, that number can increase. Right now, it's 10.46 per hour. That number every year can increase by 50 cents. It can be 10 cents, 20 cents, up to 50 cents max, okay? So we've received notification from the union that that number is not gonna change. It's gonna remain the same. So we don't have to budget an increase for the following year, which covers 2026 and 2027. After doing my math, it comes up to 5% with all 86 employees that we have under the current contract. So we don't have to budget the full amount. That's why I did the 2.5%, which is just the first half of the year.
Did you understand that?
Yeah.
Sort of. It's just we're covering 6 months.
We're covering just in case
yeah, just in case.
Next July
Yeah.
until the end of the year.
Right. And also, would you mind covering, before we open up further questions, Arnold, the 3.8, clarifying that the 3.8 COLA will apply to represented employees?
Correct. So at the last board meeting, we approved, or it was approved for all employees to receive a 3.8% COLA increase for 2027. That was for non-represented employees. And the reason why it's separate from the non-represented employees is because the unions are abide by a contract. So we have to state it as a different line item. So we are requesting to the board or the compensation committee is requesting to the board to approve the 3.8% increase for the represented employees, I'm sorry.
Any questions?
Would you like a motion?
Yes, please, Leanne.
I move to ratify as specified by contractual requirements an increase in the 2027 union benefits of up to 8% for health and welfare and 2.5% for pension, and an amount equal to and not to exceed a 3.8% increase in base wages for union employees by using the same percentage for non-union staff.
Do we have a second for that? Second, okay, thank you. Sarah seconds that. So Leanne moves, Sarah seconded. Could we have a roll call vote on this item, please?
Absolutely. Hildreth?
Yes?
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Omaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang?
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Arnold. And those factors will certainly be considered in our developing the budget for 2027. So now we're going to move on to planning. Janet, do you have a
Yeah,
report, and then
sure.
we'll get to these action items?
Yes. So the planning committee met on July 9th, and we had 7 members addressing the committee. on the following issues: transportation, use of creekside pickleball courts, Audubon certified golf courses, and parking improvements. We got to meet for the first time the gentleman who was representing Fair and Pier's short-range transit plan that we have already authorized. And this study will evaluate current transportation needs, explore alternatives, and develop an implementation plan by the end of this year. And he spoke to the fact that these transportation challenges, just like the lifeguard challenges, reflect broader transit trends, including reduced ridership since the pandemic, increased operating costs, and driver shortages. The study will gather input from current riders, former riders, and residents who don't currently use the system. And we will be hearing at our next meeting about surveys and onboard feedback and a public workshop that will be upcoming. And he did emphasize that community feedback will help shape potential solutions and ensure that the final plan reflects resident needs. Then we had a discussion about the use of Roundup in Rossmore, and we were glad to hear that the Rossmore Walnut Creek Clubhouse areas do not use Roundup. Ann Matola discussed exploring sustainable golf course maintenance practices, which includes reducing or eliminating the use of higher toxicity herbicides and chemicals. She noted that the growing community interest in evaluating alternatives, including Audubon certified and other sustainable turf management approaches. And I understand that our newest hire on the golf course is somebody who's worked for 2 different Audubon certified golf courses. So we're really happy that he has knowledge of this. Ann Matola proposed obtaining an independent assessment to evaluate current maintenance practices, potential alternatives, the impacts on turf quality and playability, staffing, equipment needs, operational costs, and long-term implementation considerations. And the committee discussed the importance of balancing environmental goals by maintaining the quality and aesthetics of the golf course. The committee supported moving forward with exploring consultant proposals for a comprehensive assessment and is recommending that the Rossmore Walnut Creek Board authorize staff to solicit proposals from qualified golf course agronomy and sustainability consultants to prepare a scope of work and cost estimates for a comprehensive evaluation of Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary certification. A motion was made and seconded, and the Planning Committee supported this further investigation. And then the only other item that was on our agenda was also the Silicon Valley paving contract, which we did approve to recommend to the board. And one other thing that we talked about was committee members requested future updates on smaller capital maintenance projects that directly impact residents, such as facility improvements and club requests. So we usually hear about the really big things, but we wanted to hear about the smaller improvements that are continually being made at our facilities.
Well, thank you, Janet. And just a reminder that we had scheduled a discussion at this meeting, the July 30th meeting, of the recommendation of the board to close the Creekside Courts 2 weeks after the pickleball facility opens and consider an expenditure up to $25,000 from the capital fund for evaluation of the use of the property. So, Jeff, did you want to give us a little update on that?
Did, thank you. So before getting into the kind of options that were discussed at the Planning Committee back in June, I think it'd be worth giving just a little bit of history of this project. These courts at Creekside began as tennis courts, 2 tennis courts back in the 70s. So this complex has been around for some time. In the early 2000s, around 2014, I believe, the courts had begun to significantly deteriorate due to the erosion from the creek. And thus, the decision was made to move the 2 tennis courts up to Buckeye and add 2 courts up there so we can retain a total number of 8 tennis courts for the community. At that time, the courts were available still for play, either as tennis or for pickleball. There was an overlay of pickleball on the 2 courts. Pickleball really began in the community at the old Del Valle gymnasium before we renovated the fitness center. And the Sierra Room, as it was called, had tape laid out for originally 2 courts, and then it expanded to 3. They were very sandwiched in there, and play just continued to kind of grow. And pickleball was a big factor when there was discussion on the design of the fitness center, and we were able to incorporate 2 courts in the gymnasium along with the aerobic studio. But during the construction, it was important to identify at least temporary location where pickleball could continue to play. We had the outdoor courts at Creekside available. We did some renovation of the surface and expanded it from 2 courts, removed the center dividing fence to allow for 3 courts because they are much smaller than tennis courts. So we have 3 courts. They were placed end to end instead of side by side. If you see a typical tennis court conversion into pickleball, you could put 4 courts where 1 current tennis court is. The reason we didn't do that here is because of the erosion. The area that is closest to the creek really is not playable surface. So we were able to create 3 end-to-end courts. It was always designed and discussed that those were temporary location, while a future home for pickleball, a dedicated complex, could be identified. Once the fitness center was complete in 2017, the journey really to find a home for pickleball began. We initially looked at Creekside as that future home. And the thought process was we could fit 7 courts at that location by changing the orientation from the current north-south to an east-west orientation. The courts would run from the top of bank, where the current fence line is, all the way to the back of sidewalk on Rossmore Parkway. And then side by side, you would fit 7 courts instead of the current 3. We looked at what the impact of that would be. There was a lot of discussion in relation to that area being able to accommodate 7 courts. But as we got into the design, we did some core sampling, some geotech work. We also did a sound study based on 7 courts. What we found, though, with the geotech survey was that the underpinning of the existing courts had already significantly deteriorated, and there would need to be significant work on a retaining wall in order to prevent future erosion that would pretty much exceed the value of that location. There is also significant limitations and restrictions on being able to do any of that type of work within proximity of the top of bank. So our ability to get permits from a regulatory standpoint would be very challenging. At that point, also due to the parking impact and traffic in that area, we began looking for alternative sites, and that's when we looked at Buckeye, we looked at the Dollar Park, we looked at Hillside, we looked at a number of different locations, ultimately landing on where the courts are currently being built. There was never at that time discussion, though, on what happens to the existing Creekside courts. The planning committee, the board, there was no presentation discussion on the future of the courts. There was no statement made that these courts would be closed or that they would be converted to parking or to return to nature. It just wasn't a topic that was addressed. So if people have been told that they would be abandoned or that they would be converted to something else, that is not coming from any type of official statement based on a board action. So during their June meeting, the planning committee began the discussion of what the future of those courts should be and talked about a number of alternatives. And that's what I'd like to go through today. Option one really is a no-cost option. You put locks on the courts and you leave the facility, and at some point in time down the road, you decide on what to do with it. If there's demand for pickleball, you can revive it. If there's demand for additional tennis courts, you can go back to that. If it's badminton, if it's nothing at all, you basically lock it up and leave it be. You would need to do some general maintenance on it in order to prevent it from being a long-term eyesore. But that is an option. Option two, with an estimated cost of just under $110,000, you can remove the courts and restore the area basically back to nature. You remove the existing court fencing and improvements. There will be some restoration and some minimal landscaping, and you would evaluate the site for future repurposing at a later time. So this is just removing everything that's there, doing some minimal grading, so again, to prevent it from being an eyesore. But that cost is just under $110,000. The third option is to rehabilitate the existing courts, and this again is just under $110,000. And the question is, well, if it wasn't safe to function as a complex, why now? And the answer to that really is, again, when we were looking at this as a long-term solution, it was based on a 7-court complex that went from top of bank to back of curb. What we would be talking about in this scenario is actually moving the courts, the 3 courts, continuing with just 3 courts, moving them closer to Rossmore Parkway, and then cutting off about 20 feet of the actual surface and removing it. So if you would, it would look something like that, where you would take and remove that section of the surface, thus moving farther away from top of bank and eliminating some of the impact from erosion on the existing surface. You would retain a little bit of a pathway on either side, so there's a safety zone of about 5 feet until you hit the fence, and then a little bit of a walkway from the entrance so you can access the courts without disrupting play. Doing this, again, you retain ability for the community to utilize an existing amenity that would cost, as we've seen, a significant amount if you were to build it from scratch. It's an already existing amenity. You're basically just rehabilitating to make it available for the longer term. But in order to do that, you would want to update your geotech survey that was done back in 2020, I believe it was, and make sure that the erosion that is ongoing, it wouldn't be impacting play if you have it that much farther away from the creek. So we want to verify that this plan wouldn't result in just continued deterioration of the court surface. We also did a sound study back then based on 7-court solution, and they had recommendations including sound blankets to absorb the sound, which does not exist today on the courts. It would basically be on the 3 facing sides to protect it from the neighborhood. And you want to verify that those measures or whatever measures are available today would reduce the sound impact for the neighbors in Mutual 40. So you want to update that sound study if you were to move forward with this. So what we're recommending is that you authorize us to expend some funding to provide some more detailed study on those options, come back, work through the planning committee, and continue with the discussion based on a little bit more in-depth information on what the impacts would be for any of those alternatives. Certainly, the board can take any direction that it chooses with the future of these courts, but that is the recommendation.
Okay, comments or questions on this? Okay, go ahead, Nan.
I know that they don't have any word from the board or the administration about the future of those courts, but the neighbors are not happy at the thought that that might actually continue to be used. And I feel that it would be something of a break of faith if we said, oh, kidding, we're just going to do it anyway. I don't see us doing that in good faith.
If we took option 2, do we still need the $25,000 study?
So that would be to remove the courts and restore the area. Where you would utilize the resources then is to kind of design what it is. So if you wanted any kind of pathway or any type of future passive use design, this is basically to scrape the area, remove the debris, and do some very limited. But if you had a vision for what it should be, what it would look like, how it would be utilized, you probably still would want to spend some resources to accomplish a design.
But would you still need the same kind of study?
Your studies would be different. You wouldn't be doing the geotech type of study. You wouldn't be doing the sound study. So you would be doing more design type work.
My concern is that we also have a traffic study. I'm pretty sure down the road, the event center area and the Creekside area, parking going to be a serious problem. So I think we should wait until the traffic study is done. Then we'll see the next.
Just to clarify, we don't currently have a parking study. We are evaluating as part of the dollar renovation parking at that location, but we are not doing an overall traffic study for these areas.
Yeah, I was the one who sort of pushed this in the planning meeting. And a key part of what I was suggesting here is that we shut it down as soon as the new one opens up, right, 2 weeks after. And then we just wait for 6 months, okay? Yes, we do this study. We understand better what our options are, but we wait and see until the new facility is in general use. How much use is that? Is there an overflow? Just where do we sit? So that we have, we understand our options better. We have a better understanding of the way, the dynamics of pickleball use here. And so the motion that we recommended from the planning committee is not to choose option 1, 2, or 3 today. It is simply to say, let's hold off, authorize staff to delve into this further, understand all what the options truly are, and then come back to us probably January, February, and say, okay, now let's make a decision.
I tend to agree with Adrian. As a board member, I identify the Creekside facility as an amenity, and it would be against my, ethics as a board member to remove an amenity. I'm not saying it has to be pickleball, but I would hope that in the 6 months where we're planning looks at that facility, decides what to do, that they consider an alternative for that location. Dare I say badminton, which is a quiet sport, which uses the same size court. And, you could do a combination of badminton and pickleball. I don't know, but I think we need to look at a bigger picture, not just pickleball for that area, but maybe something else. What else is there? I'm very hesitant to dig up an amenity. I just don't think that that's wise. I think it's going to cost way more than $107 to dig it up and put in a beautiful landscaping. So that's my concern, is as a board member, ethically, I don't want to get rid of an amenity.
So I'm kind of a combo between Adrian and Leanne on the same thing on getting rid of an amenity. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I totally agree on the closing down after 2 weeks and doing a study, but I think the study should be more than the 3 options. They should be looking for other options, possibility that could be done there. To Leanne's point of maybe I've seen people put up nets around here and play badminton, so maybe that's something we need. And it's already sitting there. So I think that is I think that there should be, the study should be open for even more opportunities for what could be done there without tearing up the ground and doing something with it.
Did you want to make a comment, Nace?
I do. What about the possibility procedurally that we bifurcate this motion and consider separately the closure of the courts from the consideration of doing further study work, and give the planning committee the opportunity to look at various other options, including what Ted suggested and Leanne suggested, and right now just close the courts and give it more thought in terms of the options, and not commit ourselves to the geotechnical and sound studies at this point.
Oh, go ahead, Leanne, and then I'll make a comment.
So I'm curious, like the $107,000 for option 2, which is removal, that's very basic, right? We're not talking about full landscaping. So that would be an additional capital expenditure that we would have to budget for full landscaping of that property.
So this would basically get you where you have a blank slate then, and then you decide in the future, what are you going to do with it? Is it going to be a parklet? Is it going to be just passive use? Is it going to be a picnic grounds? Is it walking paths? All of those would come with different costs associated.
But just another question. So if it was, like we hear people talking about wanting this beautiful parklet, but the ground is going to be dead after being under that facility. So you will it would be quite an expense, I would
Yes.
imagine.
It would be significant to turn it into an active use area.
Well, I appreciate the discussion we've had, and I do appreciate, Nace, your suggestion. One thing I want to say for the record, and Jeff, chime in here, but I want to make sure that folks understand that we pretty well know right now that this could not go to parking. So I just want to clarify, because people keep saying, can't we do parking there? And that's not really an option with the geotech thing. If we do want to, I hear a concern generally and from some of the board members about spending $25,000 for these specific geotech or sound studies. If we want to even expand the options we're looking at, I would imagine that's going to push the figure up beyond 25,000. So that's my concern is I can understand why we'd want to do that, but it could be more money. So I'm just wondering how we want to proceed at this point. Leanne?
Well, to expand on that, what is the 25,000 for?
Yeah, I was just going to clarify. So we do have existing geotech studies, existing sound study based on 7-court solution. So updating those studies based on a kind of revised concept would not likely cost $25,000. We are going to the folks that did the sound study and saying, based on the information that you have, what would be the recommendations and options to bring the sound based on a 3-court solution to a level where it's not impactful. Likewise, we would be going to the geotech folks and saying, based on this concept and the information that we have, what would be necessary. So that would leave still funds where we could look at, okay, so if we were going to scrape the site, what would be involved in various other alternatives? Could we do like design work within that? No, but we could, the cost just to update those existing studies would not likely be.
Ted and then Adrian, go ahead.
So one of the things we've done when we've made improvements here, and in the past, like with table tennis, when they got the new facility, the club exploded. It got much bigger. More recently, we took the clamshells off of the lawn bowling courts, bocce courts, in that club, and then put in a synthetic surface that gave them longer, better play. That club doubled in size. So along with this, that 6-month period, we'll have to be looking back and saying, the decision we made for the pickleball facility, what did that do to that club? Too, because we'll have to look at that piece of it also, you know, as much as how much is it going to grow? And so I think that, you know, that should be all involved in this study too. We should be kind of pulling in this other things and seeing what we created.
Yeah, so perhaps I'm being a little naive, but I was expecting that during this interval and with this $25,000 that staff would be able to explore a variety of alternatives, and not just the few that we're seeing here right now. For example, badminton, for example, turn it into a cornfield. I don't know, but marijuana farm, hey.
That's our revenue generating idea. So we could certainly come up with additional options. They will be, you know, options that you can then further explore if there is interest. I think there also is a outreach component to this in working with the neighborhood, you know, but we want to make sure when we do that we have enough detail in order to demonstrate from the professionals, here is what can be done with sound, so that their decision and feedback is based on solid information. So I think you want to incorporate some community feedback options as well on your decision.
Sue?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, one of the reasons I suggested bifurcation of this issue is I'm concerned now that the $25,000 capital fund evaluation has nothing to do with option 2 in terms of evaluating whether we can change the amenity from a pickleball amenity to a reserve community gathering facility that's been suggested by some of the residents. So until we get to that point and we know exactly what we're going to be looking at, I'm afraid to evaluate or approve $25,000 for capital fund evaluations that relate specifically to continuing it only as pickleball courts and not using an expenditure that would include capital funding to look at some of these other options that we've discussed. And it may be that we need to go back to the planning committee, as I said earlier, and have the planning committee take a look at what more to consider. And right now, have our board only consider the issue of the closure of the Creekside courts till the end of the year.
I think that really is the crux of the question, is at this point in time, is the board more supportive of retaining the existing amenity and doing some improvements, or would you like to have the amenity removed and then you decide on what the future of that? If you would like us to initiate a full-on planning process that involves some concept development of alternatives, that would be a different direction, and we can bring back to the planning committee a scope of what that would look like. So we are kind of seeking some direction at this point from the board on, do you want this to remain a hard court surface amenity like it is today with some modifications, or do you want to evaluate other alternatives which would require some design concepts and for sure community input? So we could do the minimal amount to give you, yes, you can convert it or renovate it for pickleball or hard court surfaces. Maybe it's some badminton with minimal effort of updating sound studies, updating geotech. We cannot come back to you and give you a broad stroke of here's some designs to look at to say, yes, I really like it as a park, as a garden, as a, pick an amenity. That would take much more involvement.
Oh, Ted, did you want to make a comment? And then I want to ask a question, but go ahead.
So I think that that this study would kind of involve all that. It doesn't mean that it's done by the end of the year. It's going to give us the options at the end of the year, right? 1, 2, 3, whatever it's going to be, or 4, 5, 6 of them that this possibly could be done. And then that's a whole nother discussion later on, right? That's the way I understood that what we're working on now. This is just taking us up to a point, and then we're going to have a whole discussion of which direction it's going to go after that.
So again, if you want us to really develop kind of the broad scope of all of the options of what it could be if it wasn't going to be a hard court surface, that's more involved. That is a pretty significant undertaking. If the board is of the opinion that this should continue as an existing amenity with some improvements, then we would go and say, can it be successfully. We want to update the geotech to say, maybe there is an underlying erosion that even if we move 25 feet from the creek, it is still going to be impacted and thus not a good option. Maybe the sound study, there is improved technology with the sound blankets and so forth where we can more or less eliminate any type of sound impact to the neighborhood. Does that change the question? So really what this $25,000 is doing is kind of updating the information if you're really interested in retaining it as a hardcourt surface for whatever uses can fall under that. If you really want to look at the broad scope of everything it can be, then we would kind of develop a scope of work for maybe it's a landscape architect and so forth. And you would be looking at a cost of starting at about $107 to just clear the site. And then whatever you decide to do after that, that would have to be based on what the community and what the board ultimately approves.
Adrian, did you go ahead?
Okay, well, in making this motion at the planning committee, my intent was to really be considering all possibilities, not just retaining the hard surface. And so, because I feel like when we entered into the pickleball, the new center, there may not have been a formal acknowledgement that the Creekside would close, but I do think a lot of people here had that in mind. They thought that was what was going to happen. And so I think we owe it to the community to do a proper, complete analysis of what the alternatives might be for this. And whatever that might take, it's obviously going to take quite a while, and I don't know if it's 25 grand or 50, but we owe it to people to do a proper job of understanding the alternatives.
So let me just pose something and get advice on this. In terms of the decision to close the Creekside courts after the pickleball facility is open, is there a timeliness to that where we need to, or we should make that decision today? That's a question. And to me, an alternative would be to return this to the planning committee, because if we do, and I understand why we want to look at a variety of alternatives here, it's going to be at a higher price. And we're going to have to work that into either this year or next year's budget. But so we need to have a clear identification of scope that we want staff to work with. So I'm just really questioning, Jeff, do you think there's a timeliness that we should today at least move on the agreement to close when the new pickleball facility opens?
That is really at your discretion because it's more of an optics thing than it is a actual functionality. And what I mean by that is you have an existing amenity that is currently being used actively, and there is no legal reason why you would need to physically close it and lock it. That is a decision completely of the board to do in order to transition play to the new amenity while you're deciding on what to do with the future of this. So from a timing standpoint, there really isn't a...
Well, would someone, I would ask Adrian possibly if you would like to make a motion to, and it's up to you for this motion, but I'm suggesting that we do take action on the decision to close the courts after the new pickleball facility is open, and including in that, or maybe a separate motion, to send back to the planning committee the concepts of potential uses for the Creekside courts.
I agree.
Okay. I move that the board request staff to close the current Creekside courts 2 weeks after the new pickleball facility opens, and that it remain closed until the board has made a decision about its future use.
Second that.
Okay, motion number one. Motion number two.
Why don't
we
we
gotta
act
move
on
on
that
the-
motion?
You're going to,
Oh. Yeah, so we have a first, we have a second on that.
Okay.
I think everybody's clear on that. Could we have a roll call?
Certainly. Hildreth,
Yes.
Bentley,
yes?
Selden,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Amaji,
Yes?
Spence.
Yes.
Ruvalo,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
and Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Oh,
Okay.
good, thank you. So second motion.
Second
please,
motion then is that the board request the planning committee to investigate various alternatives for the Creekside courts, and return to the board with a request for any capital funds that are necessary in order to perform the studies in an appropriate manner.
I second that.
Okay, that's moved.
Discussion.
Should we just, okay, go ahead. We're on, it's on the floor, so go ahead, Leanne.
Well, between second and vote, we have discussion.
Right,
So,
right.
do we need a time limit on that, or a recommended time frame, rather than continuing on and on?
Can I amend my motion that the planning committee return with a recommendations by the end of this year?
By the end of the year?
Second.
Well, I second.
You seconded. Do you
Ted,
accept
do you
that?
agree
Do you
with the
accept that,
second?
Ted?
So it's going to be in the front of the planning committee 6 months before we decide whether we're going to do anything about it? I mean, because you can decide pretty quick about what you want to do, then the staff can do the stuff. It's still going to have to come back to the planning meeting. You know what I mean? It'll only take a month, maybe two, to decide what the planning committee direction will be with that money, and then we got to have staff come back with it and stuff. It sounds like we're going to discuss this for 6 months.
My intent is that it's 6 months at least, because it's important to see how the new facility is used, how people change, and then to get input from the community. So that's why.
I understand what you're saying, but that's part of the study. The input from the community and everything is part of the study. The study could go on for 6 months. This could be a June decision before it ever gets done after the study and everything. So when you say I just think that the planning committee could come back quicker than that and say, that we're going to do this. Staff tells what they're going to do. The next month they come back and they say it's going to cost $70,000 to do the scope of the operation. We move that to the board in October. It could be done, but it could be June before the study is done.
Well, my concern.
And the place is locked up the whole time. Doing that. That's what I mean.
Yeah. My concern is that we can't really do the study properly until we understand the dynamics, how they've changed. And so it's going to take 2 or 3 months of closure of Creekside and Dollar Pickleball open, and then we see how the dynamics play out. And then, only then, can we really start to investigate what the alternatives are and what makes sense. And so it may not even be by the end of the year. It may be into next year. My point of the 6-month limitation is sort of you can't come back to us faster than 6 months. It has to be 6 months or more.
Just to throw in, if I can, this is not something that can happen quickly. So I'm kind of just, if you think about the steps involved and that the planning committee meets once a month, the board meets once a month, we have budget, we have a number of things. What I would envision is likely we would come back to planning with the development of a scope of work for a RFP as an initial step. So we would seek appropriate consultant services to help us evaluate all of the options, including what is on the board here. And then that would also include a community engagement process where we go out to the community and we say, here's some options. What is the input of the community? That then works back through. This is a fairly lengthy process just in order to get to that point, given the fact that we only have 3 remaining planning committee meetings for the rest of the year. So if you want to lock it after 2 weeks, I don't see that we will be in any position to make a decision before the expiration of that 6 months. You may get to a decision where you want to just reopen it as is. That could be a decision until things are settled on, but you can make that at a later point as well.
So at this point, though, you've suggested till the end of the year, Adrian. I don't know that Ted or you're willing to accept that in the.
Well, I just don't think that we already know it's going to be closed down until the planning meeting makes a decision on what we want to do with it. We don't need a time limit on it because it's closed. And it could be closed for a year before we find out all the stuff that's going. So I don't know that that's sort of the only thing I'm objecting to is saying, because now you're putting pressure on us that I got to figure out what's in 6 months, the decision's made. And I don't know if that's enough time. So I don't know that it needs it. If you're just saying we're going to close the place 2 weeks afterwards, then it's going to go back to the planning meeting, figure out a scope, develop an RFP, everything, let the process roll through. It could be a year before everything is done. Yeah. And that's why I'm just on the time limit. I don't think we need a time limit on it. And if you're in agreement with that, I can do it.
Okay. Nace,
but
and then
we
Leanne,
could-
did you want to make a comment? Nace?
I mean, but by the end of the year, we can reevaluate where we are on this and we could always extend the closure date past the end of the year. But as Adrian said, one of the elements of this is to close it now, regardless of where we are in terms of the new study, in order to evaluate how the new pickleball court itself is serving the community. And so that in and of itself will be informative. Mm-hmm. And then we can see where we are with the planning committee to come back and say, okay, these are the 4 different options that we want to get the funding for to, as Jeff said, to evaluate. And, oh, well, by the way, we're going to need now to extend the time for the closure, and that'll be part of the motion.
I'm going to call on Leanne, but I want to clarify, Adrian, you were suggesting that we have a revised scope of work in terms of further studies by the end of the calendar year. Is that correct?
No, making motions on the fly is sometimes
Well,
difficult.
Deborah, do you want to reread what?
Well, all I was trying to get
Okay.
at was that we need at least 6 months. And the reality is it's going to take us 6 months no matter what. So we don't really need to put a limit in there,
Leanne, did you have a comment?
I think.
Not really, other than I agree that 6 months would be a good time frame.
Okay, could I hear the motion or vote?
That the board requests the planning committee to investigate alternatives for the Creekside courts and return to the board with a request for capital funds necessary to perform the studies in an appropriate manner. The addition is the planning committee returns recommendation by the end of the year.
So that's the motion you made, and.
May I withdraw my amendment?
Okay.
So remove the last sentence. Understood.
Okay,
I've
you're
removed it.
removing your amendment regarding the end of the year? Okay.
And I'll second that.
Okay. And, you know, this has been a very good discussion. I can see we're going to have quite a bit more discussion on this. I think because of the interest in the community in this matter, that it will be continually addressed at the planning committee. So, although we do want to do something in a timely fashion, but this is a topic that I think is going to be on everybody's mind. So we should have a roll call on that if.
Also, keep in mind of timing, it is now 12:09 p.m. But yes, the roll call vote is Hildreth,
Yes.
Bentley,
Yes.
Selden,
Yes.
Byram,
Yes.
Hamachi,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Ruvalo,
Yes.
Warren,
Yes.
and Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
All right. Well, yes, it's a fairly long meeting today, but hopefully, Nace, we could consider in terms of policy, if you don't feel like you have to make a large report, we could take action on the item in terms of retiring Rule R106.2.
The irony is, I just want to say for the meeting, that was the shortest policy committee meeting that I've ever experienced.
Right.
So from that point of view, there was very little that we had, other than there were no member forums speakers at the meeting. And the only issue had to do with the recommendation that we retire Rule 106.2 relating to the Creekside tennis courts, which were no longer relevant. And so I think that is now what is in front of us.
Yep. So could you move that recommendation?
Yes, I move that we make the recommendation that we retire existing Rule 106.2 Creekside tennis courts since it is no longer relevant.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll just have a roll call on that one, please.
Absolutely, Hildreth.
Yes.
Bentley.
Yes.
Selden.
Yes.
Byram.
Yes.
Hamachi.
Yes.
Spence.
Yes.
Ruvalo.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes.
And Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Just to clarify, do we need to be finished in this facility at a certain time?
Yeah,
There's a movie.
come in at 1, so we've got about 15 more minutes.
10, 15 minutes, okay. All right, well, we have two more items, or several more items, but I know we want to have a discussion on the SMART goals. So that, I'm concerned that might be a bit of an extensive discussion. Do we want to try the? Yeah, could we move the SMART goals to next month?
We can definitely do that.
Yes, and I would also like an opportunity to discuss them, but do we have to do that at open board meeting?
Yes, that discussion should be at open.
Okay.
Yes,
Let's
but-
move it to next month.
But let's move it to next month, and also if people have specific concerns or something, we can work on that if we want to make modifications to that.
Okay.
And so then we'll just move down to this one. Okay, good. This is considering our new Rule 202.0, pickleball facility rules as recommended by the Policy Committee. It's a second reading. It's a second reading. Do we want to take that up today?
So let me just give a quick overview. This is based on the new facility that we anticipate should be ready for opening towards the end of August. So these are somewhat timely for that. This has been worked on by Amatola with the input from the Pickleball Club. Which is important because they do oversee the scheduling, and a significant amount we designate to clubs. This is our practice to oversee operations of a specific amenity. The general rules kind of mirror what many of our other amenities, such as tennis or the table tennis facility, as an example, include. It also does include a section that is related to the Creekside courts. Now, that is a section that you can keep in here because the courts are still actively used. However, if there is a lockdown of those courts, these just simply wouldn't apply at the time. And then formally, if there's a decision made to dismantle those courts, this section would just be amended to be eliminated as part of the overall rules. So if there's comments or specific questions on any of the general rules or specific rules, we can certainly answer those, or you can postpone this if you would like as well.
Leanne, you had a question?
Yeah, so amplified sound it looks like it's permitted on the dollar courts, but was that incorporated in the sound study? I'm hesitant to say that it's okay to use amplified sound in the new courts when it may have not been a part of the sound study.
So I think we would clarify that as amplified sound is not playing music and so forth, but rather if you were having a tournament and you need to, or a special event and you needed to make announcements and so forth, and you had a sound system set up, there is no sound system included in the facility, nor is the pickleball club allowed to install one. This would be if we had we brought in a portable system for a specific event.
Okay, has that been relayed to the club administration?
In terms of not being able to install and what can't
music.
be used,
Music.
yes, that has
Okay.
been.
All right.
Do you have any other questions, Leanne?
I do.
You do?
How did you know?
Yeah.
So if we approve this rule today, it becomes effective immediately?
That's correct.
And the club realizes that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I know that I had asked Ted to move on this, but I have a concern regarding the discussion we had today and the timeline on the Creekside Court specific rules. So I don't think we have to push this forward. I'd like to approve it today, but I would like to consider eliminating the Creekside Court specific rules at this time. Just because the nature of the discussion here, we're really not clear on what's happening there, and I don't want to send a message to the community, even though it could be amended, that decision has been made. So would it be possible? Well, go ahead, Leanne, sorry.
I think if you pass the Creekside rules today, that the neighboring residents of Creekside Court would be pleased.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, okay.
Also, there's no rule right now.
Nothing at all.
And so this would give us some structure, and the structure would lead into the new facility also. The same kind of structure with the rule would lead into the new facility.
Okay. Well, thanks for that discussion and clarifying that. And Ted, would you like to move?
So do I need to make a motion on this? It's the second reading. Is it just an agreement?
So this is the second reading, but any advanced edits to the policy?
No
There's
edits.
No edits?
No edits,
No
no
edits.
changes. Yes,
So it's
so
just-
this would
is it
be
just a vote?
requiring a motion, yes. Someone
Okay.
needs to make a motion.
Oh, I need to make a motion?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion that we accept Rule 202.0 pickleball facility rules as recommended by the Policy Committee, and this is our second reading.
Is there a second? Oh, Adrian seconds. Okay. All in roll call.
Hildreth?
Yes.
Bentley?
Yes.
Selden?
Yes.
Byram?
Yes.
Amaji?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Ruvalo?
Yes.
Warren?
Yes.
And Yang.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, do we need to just review the new business and then we can adjourn to the executive session?
Yes, I'd be happy to go over that very quickly. As the current chair, Sefton Boyers, recently resigned from the Audit Committee, President Susan Hildreth has appointed Mary Hurt to serve as chair of the Audit Committee effective immediately for the remainder of the current chair term ending June 30th, 2027. The appointment does not require board approval. The Audit Committee charter gives the RWC president authority to appoint the committee chair for one-year term from among the committee members. This is just an announcement and on record. Thank you. That concludes.
Okay, then we won't have a mid-month meeting, and our next meeting is August 27th, 9 a.m. here, and we will now be moving into executive session, so we'll be recessing at this point. Thank you.